Chapter 157. With a bang, Elder Lu's attack also shattered in midair. How is this possible? Elder Lu, who was about to laugh maniacally, was instantly stunned. How is this possible? His full-strength attack was actually unable to deal with the attack of the evil doctor, who was not even at the great martial general stage. How is this possible? No matter how powerful that black sword was, the opponent had to have the strength to unleash it. A great martial general stage was simply unable to unleash the full power of that long sword. Elder Lu was confident that he could behead the opponent under his sword light. He did not expect that he would be able to break through the opponent's attack. But his own sword light attack was also neutralized. Elder Lu's heart was filled with disbelief. However, only Luo Qingtong knew how she did it. No matter how strong the attack was, it had a weak point. The opponent's attack was strong. But she had already seen through the weakest point of his sword light through her eye technique. When she waved her sword, she had already rushed towards that trajectory and destroyed that weak point, neutralizing the opponent's attack. No. I don't believe it. Elder Lu's face was filled with rage. He raised his sword and rushed forward. The fiery red sword light swallowed and spat out. He did not believe it. His opponent was able to completely block his attack with a single sword. If one attack was not enough, then two. He did not believe that the opponent could block all of them. Rumble. The two figures quickly clashed with each other. Su Yu and the rest, who had been thrown to the ground by the aftermath of the terrifying attacks, were extremely shocked. If it was said that Luo Qingtong blocked Elder Lu's attack the first time, they felt that it was a fluke. But this time, they were completely shocked. Just as Elder Lu thought, no matter how powerful the sword in Master's hand was, without the corresponding strength, it was impossible to fight against a martial king expert. So when Master killed those martial marquis experts, she did not use her full strength? While Su Yu and the rest were shocked, Elder Lu became more and more alarmed as he fought. Terrifying. Too terrifying. What kind of monster was the opponent? Elder Lu could clearly feel that the sword light emitted by Luo Qingtong through the death blade was not as powerful as his own attack. However, his opponent was able to negate his attacks every single time. He wanted to increase his attack power to almost the same level as hers. Every single one of his attacks seemed to have collided with her sword light. Then, when his opponent's sword light shattered, the power of his attack was also negated. Once or twice could be considered a coincidence. It was the same every time. Could it be that the other party was able to see through his attack? Thinking of this, that Elder Lu was greatly alarmed. At this time, he no longer despised Luo Qingtong. Instead, a trace of coldness emerged from the bottom of his heart. A martial general cultivator, even if he had a divine sword in his hand, would not be able to fight with him like this. And not only did the other party do it. In fact, it was even showing signs of suppressing him. Elder Lu had a feeling that as time passed, the rhythm of his attacks and the circulation of his qi seemed to be becoming more and more clear to his opponent. If this continued, perhaps he would be killed here instead. No way. This can't go on. As Elder Lu thought about it, he gritted his teeth. Boom. He flipped his wrist. In an instant, the long sword in his hand suddenly emitted a blazing and fierce light. Following his wave, it was like a huge fireball, rushing towards Luo Qingtong. Chapter 158. King-level cultivation technique, Raging Flame Slash. This was Elder Lu's most powerful killing move after advancing to the martial king realm. Just like that, he blasted it towards Luo Qingtong. Die. Haha. The air was filled with a biting cold and suffocating smell, faintly suffused with a scorching hot aura. Luo Qingtong's gaze turned cold when she saw the attack rushing towards her. The strength of this attack had already exceeded the extent of her ability to break it. Luo Qingtong's gaze turned cold as she raised her hand to change the death blade into a life blade. At this moment, the power in her body suddenly stagnated, coincidentally exhausted. Luo Qingtong's expression turned cold as the blood-red light in her eyes instantly flashed. Almost instantly, she found the most suitable route to dodge. However, before she could make a move, a figure suddenly rushed over from the side and blocked in front of her. Master. Suyu had been watching the battle between Luo Qingtong and Elder Lu without blinking. Although Luo Qingtong's display of strength was extremely valiant, Elder Lu was still a martial king after all. No one would know the outcome until the very last moment. Therefore, when something happened to Luo Qingtong, no one else had noticed it, but Suyu had immediately noticed it and pounced over without a second thought. I can't let anything happen to Master. Even if I have to sacrifice my life, I can't let anything happen to Master. Holding on to this belief, Suyu rushed over before Luo Qingtong could move and pounced on her. Master. She raised her hand to push Luo Qingtong away. Luo Qingtong's pupils shrank. She never thought that Suyu would pounce over without a care in the world. Anyone could see that Elder Lu's move was a killing move. Suyu had pounced over to block the arrow for her and send herself to death. This fool. Bang! In the instant that Luo Qingtong's body moved, she pulled Suyu's hand and dodged to the side. However, her eye technique only calculated her safest hiding position. It didn't include Suyu. Although her pull had allowed Suyu to avoid the sure-kill attack of the Raging Flame Slash, the aftershock of the latter's berserk strength and scorching aura had instantly inflicted heavy injuries on Suyu. Luo Qingtong was instantly enraged when she saw the back of the girl who had thrown herself at her, charred and badly mutilated. Old dog. You're courting death. The bloody light in Luo Qingtong's eyes was like a storm. The blood-red glow within her eyes was strong, and when paired with her empty and black eyes, she looked like a goddess of darkness that had come from the depths of hell. When she saw Elder Lu raising his hand to launch another attack at her, the blood-red light in her eyes turned piercingly cold. She immediately summoned Little Pig. He still didn't know what was going on with the latter. As soon as it raised its head, it saw a piercingly cold and scorching light rushing towards it. Instantly, it cried out in fright and raised its 4 little hooves, wanting to run away. Luo Qingtong raised a hand and pressed it down. Stop him. At least 10 breaths of time. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving the demon-subduing pagoda for the rest of your life. Her voice was ice-cold. Before Little Pig could react, it was lifted and thrown out. Ah! You can't do this. Why don't you call Lil White out to block me? You're treating me differently. Little Pig cried out as it flew towards the Raging Flame Slash. At the same time, Luo Qingtong abruptly grasped the 1,000-year soul-guiding wood's core in her hand. It contained the Yi Qianxian energy that she had previously poured into it. Chapter 159. Ah! Little Pig flew toward Elder Lu's attack with a miserable expression. Just when everyone thought it would be split in half by the attack, Little Pig finally shut up after failing to get Luo Qingtong to call it back after shouting for a long time. Forget it, that woman won't fall for it. Damn it. Little Pig stomped on the ground with its 4 little hooves and instantly reversed its position in the air. Then, under everyone's widened eyes, Little Pig abruptly opened its mouth. Boom! A ray of light that was as sharp as a sword shot out from its mouth. With a bang, it collided with the attack that Elder Lu had unleashed. Rumble. The 2 lights collided in an instant. The violent shockwaves from the collision caused Little Pig's aura to weaken significantly. This attack had consumed a lot of its energy. In the next second, Little Pig turned into a pink lightning bolt and charged toward Elder Lu. Luo Qingtong said that she wanted Little Pig to block Elder Lu's attack for at least 10 breaths of time. What? What the hell is this? Elder Lu was stunned for a moment when he saw his attack was blocked by a pink mini pig that appeared out of nowhere. Then, he launched another attack. This time, before the attack could reach him, Little Pig had already dodged and fled. Little Pig's 4 little hooves lightly stomped in the air and turned into pink lightning bolts. It circled around Elder Lu, not giving him a chance to disturb Luo Qingtong's recovery. Based on its understanding of that woman, once she regained her strength, it would be Elder Lu's death in the next second. Damn it. You bastard, I'll trap you until you die. It's all your fault. You made this Grandpa Pig lose a lot of energy. Do you think it's easy for me to recover a little bit of my strength? If it weren't for the fact that I'm sealed, I would have killed you with a single breath. Damn it. Little Pig grumbled in his heart as he led Elder Lu in circles. Rumble. Elder Lu launched one attack after another, but none of them could even touch Little Pig's skin. Occasionally, some of the shockwaves hit Little Pig, but it was as if they couldn't hurt Little Pig at all. From beginning to end, Little Pig didn't slow down at all. What the hell is this thing? Just as Elder Lu was shocked, there was a loud boom. On the other side, Luo Qingtong finally absorbed enough power. She leaped into the air, and the blood-red light in her eyes flickered. Behind the evil Rakshasa mask, her red lips moved slightly. Get out of the way. Little Pig's cold voice. Without any hesitation, he kicked the ground and ran as far as the sky. Damn it. I'm so tired. Why did this woman provoke so many people? She actually provoked a Martial King. How is she going to deal with her opponent? At the Martial King realm, the chi within the body was perfectly integrated, and there was almost no flaw. Even if there was a Martial King, Luo Qingtong, she's a martial general. Luo Qingtong, a peak martial marquis, combined with the life and death yin-yang sword's life and death edge effect, could barely kill him. What should she do? Little Pig was curious, so he didn't forget to turn his head around to take a look. With one look, it instantly widened its beady eyes. How did this woman do it? Little Pig looked at Luo Qingtong in shock. The death blade in the girl's hand was held horizontally. Streaks of fiery red light jumped on it. The scorching and intense light set off the pure black blade. It was like the fire of the underworld from the depths of purgatory, absolutely gorgeous and terrifying. Chapter 160. Isn't this the attack that Elder Lu just used? What's it called again? Raging Flame Slash. While Little Pig was still in shock, Luo Qingtong's cold voice rang out. Swoosh. A fiery red light, with terrifying speed and murderous intent, suddenly broke free from the death blade sword light in Luo Qingtong's hand. That light carried a scorching heat, sweeping up layers of heat waves in the air as it blasted towards Elder Lu, who was already dumbfounded from shock. The power and intensity of this attack were many times stronger than the Raging Flame Slash that Elder Lu used before. If the Raging Flame Slash that Elder Lu used before was only 50 points of proficiency, then Luo Qingtong's proficiency was 100 points. Perfect replication. This was another ability of Luo Qingtong's pupil technique. As long as she had enough strength, she could perfectly replicate any cultivation method or martial skill that she had seen before. This Raging Flame Slash, no matter if it was the technique or the power, had reached the most perfect level of this king-tier cultivation method. It was as if it was directly copied from a cultivation method book. His every move was perfect to the extreme. Little Pig was so shocked that his eyeballs almost fell out of their sockets. Oh my God. What kind of abnormal master did I choose? This woman. Can this woman be any more abnormal? Under Little Pig's shocked gaze, the Raging Flame Slash rapidly slashed toward Elder Lu. The latter quickly regained his senses as the scorching heat approached him. Impossible. This is impossible. How are you able to use my secret technique? This must be a fake. Smokescreen. Yes. It's a smokescreen. Elder Lu's heart was filled with panic and fear. He shouted loudly and hurriedly waved his hand, sending out a Raging Flame Slash at the same time. However, compared to Luo Qingtong's perfect Raging Flame Slash, Elder Lu's Raging Flame Slash was like a child's play. Boom! Luo Qingtong's Raging Flame Slash quickly broke through Elder Lu's Raging Flame Slash and directly cut him in half. Bang bang! With two muffled sounds, the two halves of Elder Lu's body fell heavily onto the ground. His eyes were wide open. He couldn't believe that he had died under his own unique skill. Moreover, he had died so miserably. Boom! After Luo Qingtong's attack split Elder Lu into two halves, it didn't slow down at all. Instead, it created a huge and bottomless crack in the ground. The might of a king-level cultivation technique was truly terrifying. Bam! Little Pig fell to the ground. Looking at the Luo Qingtong's attack, his eyes widened. Oh my god! This woman was too scary, wasn't she? With just a glance, he had learned someone else's unique skill. Moreover, his attack was many times more powerful than Elder Lu's. Oh my god! Was he still human? As for the few Martial Marquis realm slaves who had been completely abandoned to the side and hadn't even been able to get anything, they were constantly gasping for breath. Master is really too strong. Looking at how Elder Lu died without a complete corpse, the strong enslaved figures' hearts were pounding like drums. Their reverence for Luo Qingtong was like that of a deity. A martial general was able to kill a martial king. In this world, there was probably no one who could stand shoulder to shoulder with their master. Chapter 161. Their hearts were filled with indescribable excitement. Master! Congratulations on your great victory, Master! After Luo Qingtong landed, they stepped forward and knelt on the ground. They raised their heads, their faces full of awe and reverence. Get up! Luo Qingtong's eyes were indifferent. She waved her hand and put away the life and death sword. The attack just now drained all the energy in her body, so she was a little unsteady. The power of a king-level cultivation technique was indeed powerful. If not for the energy that Yi Qianxian had poured into her body, she would not have been able to use it. Fortunately, she did not waste this energy and sealed it in the heart of the 1,000-year soul-guiding tree. Otherwise, she would not have been able to kill Elder Lu. If she let him escape, he would be a big problem. Clean up this place and take everything from them. Take Su Yu and let's go. Luo Qingtong said in a low voice. She looked at the huge spirit boat not far away, and the corners of her lips curled up. It seemed that the harvest this time was not bad. These people from the Qing family came to capture Su Yu, and they even brought a spirit boat. It looked similar to the spirit boat she saw outside the Blackfield city. Obviously, it was not an ordinary magic weapon. The spirit boat from before was an earth-level magic weapon. Could it be that this spirit boat was of the same level? If that was the case, the Qing family had really spent a lot of money. She did not know where they got it from, but they actually used such a treasure to capture Su Yu. This time, she had benefited from it. Yes. A group of martial marquis experts got up and quickly cleaned up the battlefield. Luo Qingtong walked to Su Yu's side and helped her up. When she pushed Su Yu away, she had already sealed her heart meridian and all the vital acupoints. The girl was seriously injured. Most of her back was almost burned through, and the flesh on it was badly mutilated and charred. Luo Qingtong looked at her and frowned. She picked him up and was careful not to touch Su Yu's wound. At this time, the battle slaves in charge of cleaning up the battlefield came to report, "Master, it's all done. These corpses, don't move, just leave it there." Luo Qingtong's voice was biting cold. She didn't mind letting the Qing family see what would happen to their men. Luo Qingtong didn't intend to hide it. Someone had come knocking on her door. If she didn't do something to intimidate them, they would think that her residence was a tea house where people came and went as they pleased. So what if he killed a member of the Qing clan? She wanted to tell everyone that her people were not to be messed with. Whoever dared to move would die. Go. The group boarded the flying boat. Luo Qingtong only glanced at the spiritual pivot that was controlling the airship, and then she released her spiritual power to erase the soul sense aura that was imprinted on it. With her eye technique and ability, it was a piece of cake for her. In just a few breaths, the huge spirit ship rushed up and flew toward the Blackfield city. Bang! Just as Luo Qingtong was controlling the huge and beautiful airship to soar into the sky, the Qing family of Sunrise Country. A luxuriously dressed young man with a golden crown on his hair suddenly changed his expression. He stood up abruptly and didn't even realize that he knocked over the chair behind him. Spirit ship. My soul sense imprint has been erased. His voice was filled with shock and anger. Before the members of the Qing family in the hall could react, a figure suddenly rushed in from outside. Chapter 162. What? Whose soul lamp was extinguished? The members of Qing clan who didn't know what was going on all stood up at once. Especially the Qing family head, who had been stroking his beard and laughing heartily just now. His face darkened instantly. It's Elder Lu, Steward Zhang, and Commander Chen's. The servant replied with trepidation. Bastard. The Qing family head was furious. He didn't care about Elder Lu's death, but Steward Zhang and Commander Chen. Didn't they take Yun Er's flying boat to capture Suyu? Now that they were dead, coupled with his son's words just now, a bad premonition surged in the Qing family head's heart. Could it be that his son's spirit boat was stolen? At this moment, another figure scrambled out of the room. Family head, young master. There's a letter from the Black Region sub-city. As the butler spoke, he kept wiping his sweat as he raised his hand and handed over a letter. It was a black envelope with a black seal. The Qing family head and Qing Lingyun's expressions changed when they saw it. The other Qing family members also quickly quietened down. A letter from the Blackfield City. Why would the Blackfield City suddenly send them a letter? And this letter, everyone looked at the black letter. It was clearly a letter used by the Blackfield City to issue warnings and punishments to outsiders. When did the Qing family offend the Blackfield City? Everyone thought in their hearts, feeling extremely uneasy. Only the Qing family head and Qing Lingyun knew what was going on. When they thought of how Steward Zhang and the others brought people to the Blackfield City to capture Suyu, their expressions instantly darkened. Could it be that they offended someone over there? Caused the Blackfield City to issue a warning to them? The Qing family head was bewildered. When he opened the letter and saw the contents, his expression instantly turned extremely ugly. It was naturally an ultimatum from the bloody arena, telling them that Suyu was evil Dr. Ghost Eye's subordinate and that they were not to provoke him in the future. Otherwise, don't blame them for being impolite. The letter was stamped with the bloody arena's headquarters seal. The head of the Qing family slammed his palm heavily on the table in front of him. Damn it. At this point, the matter was very clear. The one who killed Steward Zhang and the others must be evil Dr. Ghost Eye. He didn't expect Suyu to find such a backer. To be able to make the bloody arena's people protect him. But they didn't need to find trouble with Suyu. What about his son's spirit boat? That was a special reward he had received from the Sacred Academy. That spirit boat's grade? Even the ordinary teachers of the Sacred Academy didn't have such a boat. Was he going to give it justs? Qing Lingyun's SSS initially, he wanted to let Steward Zhang and the others use the spirit vessel to cheer his younger brother up when he returned to visit his family. Who would have thought that something like this would happen midway? Now that his spirit boat had been snatched away, and the other party was protected by people from the Black Region sub-city, was he going to lose his spirit boat for nothing? Even in the Sacred Institute, that was an extremely precious flying boat. Qing Lingyun's heart bled just thinking about it. No. He couldn't let it go just like that. Father, I must get the spirit boat back. But the other party has people from the Blackfield City protecting him. The Qing family head frowned. Chapter 163. The Supreme Assassin Pavilion was the only mysterious influence within the True Spill Continent that could compare with the Blackfield. Their reputation within the True Spill Continent wasn't as great as the Blackfield, but they were still feared by many. This was because the Supreme Assassin Pavilion only did one business, and that was to kill. The Blackfield also had their own assassination business, but because the Blackfield's influence was so vast, many people preferred to place their orders at the Supreme Assassin Pavilion. This was because the Supreme Assassin Pavilion's rules stated that no matter who you wanted to assassinate, as long as you could pay the price, they would dare to kill you. The Saint Emperors of the Holy Dynasty and the Blackfield were no exception. Of course, their price wasn't something that the average person or influence could afford. But daring to say such words and putting the names of so many powerhouses on the list also proved the strength behind the Supreme Assassin Pavilion. It was said that behind the Supreme Assassin Pavilion was a group of powerhouses that stood at the pinnacle of the true Spill continent. They formed an alliance and formed the Supreme Assassin Pavilion out of boredom, and then continued to do so. Everything within the Supreme Assassin Pavilion was kept secret, and the assassins responsible for carrying out missions were only given code names. As long as the Supreme Assassin Pavilion assassinated them, even if they didn't succeed, they wouldn't be refunded. Hearing Qing Lingyun mention the Supreme Assassin Pavilion, the Qing family head immediately reacted. That's right, if the Supreme Assassin Pavilion takes action, the Black Field can't blame us. He excitedly said. Let's go, we'll go to the Supreme Assassin Pavilion now. Using a bit of money to exchange for a spirit boat airship was absolutely the most cost-effective transaction. Not to mention that the Eastern Fence Nation's Black Field Branch City's evil doctor. Even if he was valued by the bloody arena, how strong could he be? The Qing family head almost immediately agreed to this proposal. As the Qing family father and son headed towards the Supreme Assassin Pavilion, several figures appeared where Luo Qingtong and the others had left. Over here. A group of people rushed towards the place where the Qing family's corpses lay. These people all wore the uniform of the Black Field. Impressively, they were from the Eastern Fence Nation's Black Field Branch City. When Luo Qingtong went out, they followed her. But they were thrown off halfway and lost their way. Only now did they arrive here. All of them were killed in one hit. One of them squatted down to investigate. Especially this elder Lu, he seems to have died at the hands of his own unique skill. Blackfield's ability to gather information was top-notch. These people were following Luo Qingtong, so they knew exactly who she was looking for. With just a casual glance, they were able to discern Elder Lu's identity. He was no stranger to the wounds on his body. It is indeed the power of Raging Flame Cut. Moreover, his technique was clean and efficient, and his power was incomparably tyrannical. It's even stronger than Elder Lu's. Go back and report to the city lord. After saying that, the group of people left. As for the corpses of the Qing clan members, they were still there. Even if Luo Qingtong didn't kill these people who dared to challenge the dignity of Blackfield City, once they found out, they would still kill them. Putting their corpses here would serve as a warning to the others. While these people were retreating, Luo Qingtong had already brought Su Yu and the others back to Blackfield City. She parked the spirit boat in a hidden mountain range outside Blackfield City and returned to Blackfield City with Su Yu and the others. As soon as they entered the residence, Luo Qingtong issued an order. Seal the residence. Without my order, no one is allowed to disturb us. Chapter 164. Mistress. Am I going to die soon? In the room, Su Yu is lying on her stomach on the bed. Her clothes are all gone, and her voice is weak. She was seriously injured. On the way back, she had already lost consciousness several times. Luo Qingtong underestimated the power of that raging flame chop. In the end, it was the full-strength attack of a martial king. Su Yu didn't completely avoid it. That attack not only burned her back, it also penetrated into her body, almost merging all the meridians on her back. If it was someone else, they would have died long ago. Luo Qingtong sealed all the major meridians in Su Yu's body, allowing her to hold on until now. But even so, this is already the limit. It won't happen. With me here, you won't die. A bloody light flashes in Luo Qingtong's eyes. She stares at Su Yu's back without blinking. Her hands are flying, almost forming an afterimage in the air. She has already removed her disguise, revealing her beautiful face. Her body is like jade, and her eyes are like blood. She looks like a bewitching monster that bewitches people's hearts. Captivating and moving people's souls. Yes, I believe in Mistress. Su Yu slightly closes her eyes. She believes in Mistress. If Mistress says she can live, then she will definitely live. Endure, Su Yu, I'm going to do it. At that time, even if you seal your 5 senses, you will still feel pain. This pain will make you wish you were dead. But you must endure it. You can't faint. Otherwise, all our previous efforts will be wasted. After spending less than an hour to seal all the blood vessels in Su Yu's body, Luo Qingtong looks at the girl lying on the bed and says word by word. Endure it, and you will be reborn. You will have a boundless sea and sky. You can do anything you want. I can't endure it. Only death awaits you. Mistress, do it. Su Yu closes her eyes tightly. She must endure it. Good. A bloody light flashes in Luo Qingtong's eyes. She directly begins to peel off the dead skin and flesh on her back. She peels off the meridians that have already melted together. She connects the meridians that have already melted to the point that their shape can't be seen. She restored them to their original appearance, and even more open and unobstructed than before. This disaster may not be a disaster for Su Yu. Her meridians had been fused into one. If it was anyone else, even if they managed to save her, they would be a cripple. From now on, she can't use her strength. Even if she has the strength of a martial lord. But Luo Qingtong is different. Su Yu's meridians were all destroyed, so she simply reshaped her meridians with a wider meridians. The smoothness of a martial artist's meridians was directly related to their strength. Luo Qingtong takes this opportunity to completely reconstruct Su Yu's meridians. Those meridians that Su Yu didn't open when she was cultivating, under Luo Qingtong's inner vision, are all opened by the strength of her strength. Open up the meridians and obtain a new life. As long as Su Yu survives this, her future is limitless. Ah! As soon as Luo Qingtong makes a move, Su Yu can't help but scream. Her beautiful and resolute face was filled with pain at this moment. However, even if she bites her lips and breaks her fingernails, she still resolutely maintains her consciousness. She bears the pain that can be said to be tearing her soul. She will definitely survive. She still has the blood feud of the Su family to bear. She can't die. Ah! Chapter 165. You're saying that everyone in the Qing family was killed in one blow, and Elder Lu, a martial king, was killed by his own unique skill? And it was a one-hit kill? His eyes were filled with surprise. Yes. We've investigated back and forth, and it's indeed so. And the person who did it is extremely powerful and has extraordinary abilities. The power of the move that killed Elder Lu was perfect. It can't be used unless it's cultivated to the full mastery realm. I estimate that the person who did it is at least a martial emperor. A martial emperor's strength has been cultivated to the point of returning to one's original state. It's extremely easy to imitate the skill below. And it's perfect power when it's used. Other than that, there's no other reason to explain Elder Lu's death. After all, although the raging flame slash was not rare, the probability of the other party knowing it and being able to use it perfectly was too small. The biggest possibility is that there's a martial emperor behind the evil doctor. Or maybe he's the martial emperor himself. However, these people in Blackfield City didn't know that this was an illusion created by Luo Qingtong with the help of her eye technique and Yi Qianxin's power. It had nothing to do with a martial emperor. A martial emperor? The Blackfield City governor listened without saying a word. If that's the case, he'll have to rope in the evil doctor. After all, such a strong person can already build an empire. The Blackfield City governor of Eastern Fence Country is just a city in a low-level country. His strength is only at the martial emperor realm. If he could befriend a martial emperor level powerhouse, it would be 100 advantages and no disadvantages. But when he thought of the tangled relationship between his lord and the evil doctor, he didn't know whether it was a good or bad relationship. The Blackfield City governor felt a headache coming on. Forget it, let's wait and see. No matter how powerful the evil doctor is, he can't be compared to my wise and powerful lord. If he accidentally stands on the wrong side and cozies up to the wrong person, it'll be no joke. Sigh. My lord, there are so many men and women who admire you in this world. Why do you like the evil doctor? The city lord of the Blackfield sub-city thought, and the corner of his eyes twitched. He had been in charge of the Blackfield city of Eastern Fence Nation for so many years, but this was the first time he realized that his lord's preferences were so different. That's enough. He waved his hand. This matter ends here. Send this information to the Lord after you've sorted it out. Keep an eye on the evil doctor. Don't let him be dissatisfied with our Blackfield branch city. Also, keep a close eye on the Qing family. Don't let them have the chance to cause trouble for the evil doctor. There can't be a next time when the evil doctor's manor was attacked in the Blackfield city. Yes. Everyone agreed in unison. At this moment, a servant hurriedly walked in from outside. City Lord, this is the application from the Bloody Arena. Apply? What application? The Blackfield City Lord raised his hand and took the letter in his hand. After reading it, the corner of his mouth suddenly twitched. It was the Bloody Arena who felt the Qing family's attack on Luo Qingtong's manor, and hurriedly applied for a silver order for her. This way, they could openly send people to protect Luo Qingtong's manor. However, the Blackfield City Lord still couldn't figure out the Lord's attitude toward the evil doctor. How dare he casually give her a Blackfield order? What if the Lord was unhappy? The Blackfield City Lord thought about it and finally decided to report it to the Lord and let him decide. Chapter 166. Elder Yu. Elder Yu. Quick. Master is in trouble. Blackfield, Deep Venerable Palace. Bei Qing and Feng Yu hurriedly brought Yi Qianxian back. Yi Qianxian was still in a coma. The two placed him in the back of the palace. Feng Yu stayed behind to guard him while Bei Qing rushed directly to the medicine hall. She was looking for Elder Yu. He was brought back by Yi Qianxian when he went out. He was in charge of the medicine hall. No one knew how high Elder Yu's alchemist level was. They only knew that he was the only one who could see some clues about Master's injury that made all the alchemists in the true Spill continent helpless. The panacea that Yi Qianxian usually soaked in when his injury flared up was also made by him. In the entire true Spill continent, only he could slightly alleviate Yi Qianxian's injury. Elder Yu, come with me. Bei Qing hurried all the way to the medicine hall. She didn't care what Elder Yu was doing. She pulled him along and ran. Yi Qianxian's injury flared up fiercely this time. Only the heavens knew how they felt when they rushed in and saw the pool and the bath hall dyed red. Their hearts were about to stop from fright. With Master's status, nothing could happen to him. Hey! Wait! You stinking brat! Wait a minute. I haven't taken the medicine yet. Elder Yu was in the medicine hall sorting out the herbs that he needed to remix Yi Qianxian's medicine. Suddenly being pulled by Bei Qing, the herbs in his hands almost fell to the ground. How could Bei Qing wait? He waved his hand and with a schwa sound, everything in Elder Yu's room was swept clean. Sumeru space. The most rare and precious Sumeru space in the true Spill continent. It was a storage magic treasure. Seeing Bei Qing take everything in the room with a wave of his hand, who knew how big the space in his Sumeru space ring was? It had to be known that in the true Spill continent, a storage magic treasure with a square meter of space was enough to make people go crazy. But Bei Qing's storage space was probably no less than a few hundred square meters. Okay. I've taken everything. Elder Yu, let's go. I'll get you whatever you want later. As he spoke, he pulled Elder Yu and ran without any explanation. The old man glared at him with his old eyes, and only remembered to curse after he was dragged along for some distance. *CKU, you little bastard. You should have at least left a bed for me. And my chamber pot. Why are you keeping it too? Mingzun Palace, sleeping quarters. On the spacious and luxurious bed, a godlike man lay on a milky white jade pillow with his eyes closed. That indescribably handsome face, even though he was unconscious, could not hide the elegance, majesty, and magnificence. Elder Yu, how is it? Is Master all right? Beside the bed, Bei Qing paced back and forth with an anxious look on his face. Enough. You're so annoying. I've only just started taking your pulse. You're asking me if I'm okay. Do you think I'm a deity? Get out of my way. Elder Yu was annoyed by his questions. He lifted his leg and kicked him to the side. She hadn't even settled the score with him for taking away all the things in her room. Now he was being stupid again. Elder Yu was fuming with anger. He wanted to scold him again, but suddenly, his face turned cold. This pulse. Ignoring Bei Qing, this stupid dog, he hurriedly checked Yi Qianqian's pulse. Chapter 167. Nope. Bei Qing and Feng Yu were both stunned when they heard Elder Yu's question. They found that their master's injuries flared up and he fainted in the bath hall, so they immediately brought him back. How could there be other pharmacists who helped their master? Besides, other pharmacists couldn't treat their master's injuries. Both of them shook their heads, but Elder Yu stroked his beard and felt strange. That's strange. Your master's pulse is stable, and his main meridians are slowly recovering. The condition of his injuries flared up is much better than before. Someone must have treated his injuries. And that person's alchemy skills are above mine. As he spoke, he looked at Bei Qing and Feng Yu, his beard puffed up and his eyes widened. There's such a pharmacist and you deliberately hid it from me. Why, are you afraid that I'll be jealous and harm him? Since you don't believe me, I'll leave. As he spoke, he was about to leave, but was pulled back by Feng Yu. Wait. Elder Yu, can you make it clear? You're saying that my master is fine now, and someone has already treated his injuries? He asked. Yes. I don't know why, but she only treated half of it. If not, your master would have woken up long ago. He's unconscious now, not because of something, but because his main meridians are self-healing. Elder Yu said, that's why I said that person is better than me. At least I can't make your master's main meridians self-heal. He pointed at Yi Qianxian and said, your master's main meridians have strengthened again. If this goes on, his life won't be in danger in the future. Enough. I've said what I need to say. Since you're so guarded against me. This old man isn't someone who doesn't know what's good for him. I'll leave now. Elder Yu was also stubborn. His medical skills were profound, and his alchemy skills were incomparable. Many people wanted to ask him for help but couldn't. If Yi Qianxian's injuries hadn't piqued his curiosity, he wouldn't have appeared here. In the end, they were so guarded against him. Even if they found a cure, they wouldn't tell him. Fine. In that case, he'll leave by himself. I won't send you off. Wait. Elder Yu. Seeing that he was about to leave, Feng Yu hurriedly pulled him back. We swear that before you, we really didn't invite any alchemist to treat master's injuries. I swear by the world and my soul. As he spoke, he raised his hand and pointed his sword at the sky. There was no movement in the sky, which meant that Feng Yu was not lying. Elder Yu put down his foot again. Really? I really didn't. Feng Yu's face was resolute. At this moment, Bei Qing also came to her senses and said hurriedly, Elder Yu, I really didn't. Otherwise, why would I be so anxious? That was true. Bei Qing was so stubborn that she didn't look like a liar. Elder Yu thought for a moment and sat back down. Then before your master fainted, did anyone go in? In addition, did something similar happen to him before? Is it because the injury suddenly healed? Elder Yu wondered if Yi Qianren had done something by accident that inexplicably improved his condition. When he said that, Bei Qing and Feng Yu looked at each other and thought of the same thing at the same time. Yes. Elder Yu, something similar happened to Master before. It happened on 9 Magi Mountain. Master said that it was a young girl who cured him. Yes. Chapter 168. 9 Magi Mountain. Is that the 9 Magi mountain that caused a huge uproar in Dongli country? Yue Lao asked in surprise. Your master went there? Yes. Feng Yu nodded. Master received news that there was a relic there that might have a way to treat his injuries, so he went there alone. After that, Master's injuries acted up. By the time we arrived, Master was already fine. According to Master, it was a blind girl who saved him. Feng Yu explained the situation at that time, including the changes in Yi Qianxian's meridians. Because we weren't sure what the changes were, and because we were looking for that girl, we didn't have time to tell you about this. Feng Yu said. I see. Yue Lao nodded. So that's it. No wonder Yi Qianxian's meridians looked like they were about to explode because of the medicinal power. He knew that this kid's meridians were already so weak that they needed to be nurtured at all times to maintain normal conditions. How dare he do such a suicidal thing? So it was because he wanted to confirm the changes in his injuries. But, the person who saved him was a young girl? And a blind one at that? Yue Lao was in disbelief. If he said that his alchemy skills were second, no one in the world would dare to say that they were the best. But even so, he had been by Yi Qianxian's side for so many years, but he had not been able to treat his injuries at all. At most, he could only delay the pain when his injuries acted up. He could only help him endure this period of time. But now, a young girl, and a blind girl at that, had done something that even he could not do. Is your master sure that it was a young girl? I mean, is he sure that she was young? What was her cultivation level? When he asked this question, Feng Yu and Bei Qing's expressions became strange. She was indeed a young girl. They nodded. And her strength, according to Master, she was a martial master, but Master was unable to keep her. As they spoke, they hid the fact that when they found Yi Qianxian, the latter had a bite mark on his lips. Master was seduced by the other party's beauty, so he played with her. As he played, he let her go. That must not be said. It was too damaging to Master's wise and mighty image. Pfft. Before they could finish, Yue Lao could not help but spit out a mouthful of water. Are you two kidding me? Martial master? How could she escape from your master? Do you know how powerful your master is? He glared at the two of them. How could they make such a joke? Were they looking down on his IQ? The corners of Bei and Feng Yu's lips twitched. What they said was true. Although it did sound like a joke, Elder Yu, it's true. We haven't found him yet, Feng Yu said. At this moment, Yue Lao suddenly shouted. Wait! You said that Yi Qianxian has not been found? Then what happened to your master's injuries? He pointed at Yi Qianxian who was lying on the bed. Could it be that this was treated by a ghost? Before Bei Qing and Feng Yu could speak, a cold and deep voice suddenly rang out in the bedroom. It was treated by a ghost. Yi Qianxian's eyes were cold. No one knew when he had woken up. He closed his eyes slightly and gnashed his teeth in anger. Chapter 169. As soon as Yi Qianxian regained consciousness, he knew that the servant who brought the medicine in to serve him was that woman in disguise. She was really lustful and bold. She even dared to sneak into the city lord's residence and, thinking of how Luo Qingtong grabbed his doppelganger after falling into the water, Yi Qianxian felt a wave of shame and anger in his heart. How many times had that woman teased and provoked him like this? Did she really think that he didn't dare to kill her? However, even though he was thinking this way, Yi Qianming's mind couldn't help but recall the moment when the young girl's hand held his doppelganger's soft and beautiful hand. If not, how could he suddenly lose control of his own aura and explode his meridians? That woman was really, Yi Qianxian gritted his teeth in hatred. Investigate it for me. Everything that happened in the city lord's residence that day, no matter how big or small, must be reported to me. Especially when it came to that manservant. From top to bottom, don't let go of even a single strand of hair. He wanted to see what that woman wanted to do. Moreover, Yi Qianxian clearly sensed that the eyes of the servant that the woman disguised as were intact. It was just that the water vapor in the hall was too dense at that time, and he didn't pay much attention to it because his own aura was in a mess. He didn't know if it was his illusion. If it wasn't, then, Yi Qianxian's eyes suddenly darkened. Yes. Master. Hearing the sound of their master's teeth grinding, Bei Qing and Feng Yu lowered their heads deeply. Oh my god, Master is really going to explode this time. That girl is also amazing. Even the evil doctor couldn't make Master so angry before. They didn't know what she did to Master in the bath hall. Both of them were very curious, but they didn't dare to ask. On the other hand, Elder Yu didn't have any scruples. Seeing Yi Qianxian like this, he laughed. Oh. What's wrong? It's rare to see you like this. Did the girl take advantage of you? He was just casually saying it, but Yi Qianxian didn't refute him. Looking at his face, it was obviously 10 times darker than before. Elder Yu was stunned, then he slapped his thigh and laughed loudly. No way. Did I really hit the nail on the head? Ha ha ha. He laughed so hard that he was swaying back and forth. Ha ha ha. The dignified Nether Venerable was molested? Ha ha ha. Come on. Tell me, where did she touch you? Elder. Yi Qianren's face was dark and his voice was cold. I have a feeling that everyone in the Medicine God Valley sect must have missed you dearly after all these years. Ah. Before he could finish his words, Elder Yu had already jumped up like a spring. Ah. It was easy for people to forget things when they got old. What did I just hear? Did I say something? Why don't I? Ah. This person had to admit that he was old. Oh. I suddenly remembered that the Hall of Medicine still has some improved formulas that I haven't had the time to concoct. Yi, I'm leaving now. After saying that, he disappeared with a whoosh. Bei Qing and Feng Yu were flustered. Elder Yu, you can't trick us like this. You always run away after tricking us. What are we going to do? Feeling their master's gaze on them, they wanted to cry but had no tears. Master, we. Actually, they didn't hear anything. Before they could finish their words, Yi Qianxian kicked them out of the room with a cold face. Chapter 170. Oh my god. Espionage Workshop. Bei Qing and Feng Yu's faces instantly turned green when they heard their master's words. They couldn't care about anything else. They got up and ran out. They would rather die than go to the espionage workshop. The espionage workshop, as the name implied, was a place where they used beauty to obtain information. It was a branch of the Blackfield's intelligence building. Bei Qing and Feng Yu ran as fast as they could when they thought that they might be sent there to sell their beauty. In the Blackfield sub-city, the demonic doctor's residence. After 24 hours, Luo Qingtong finally stopped. The blood-red glow in her eyes was extinguished. She was completely engulfed in darkness. She couldn't even stand steadily. Master. Su Yu, whose body was already extremely weak, saw Luo Qingtong's swaying body. She hurriedly gritted her teeth and reached out to support her, but was blocked by Luo Qingtong. I'm fine. I just used too much of my mental strength, Luo Qingtong said as she supported herself on the bed and sat down. I'll be fine in a while. How do you feel now? She looked blankly in Su Yu's direction. Luo Qingtong's mental strength was completely used up. Her eyes naturally returned to the state of being blind. However, Luo Qingtong didn't really care. She would be fine after her mental strength recovered. However, it was really troublesome to passively recover her mental strength like this. She still had to find a way to neutralize the poison in her eyes. Yes, I'm much better. After an entire day and night of treatment, not only was Luo Qingtong exhausted, Su Yu almost couldn't hold on a few times. However, she managed to hold on until the end. Su Yu forced herself to use the last of her consciousness to inspect her body. She felt the new meridians in her body. Looking at how wide and smooth they were, Su Yu's eyes quickly filled with tears. Master. She choked with sobs. Thank you for giving me a new life. This was a true rebirth. When Suyu blocked the sword for Luo Qingtong, she was already prepared to die. But now, not only had she survived, but all the meridians in her body had been reconstructed, and she had attained the innate constitution. The so-called Xiantian constitution meant that all the meridians in the body were connected, and the circulation of energy was endless. Generally speaking, only martial king realm experts would be able to sense the power of heaven and earth at the moment of their promotion to martial king. They would be able to break through the congenital shackles of the main meridians in their bodies and connect the main meridians in their bodies together to form a congenital body. However, Luo Qingtong had directly created a Xiantian body for Suyu. Moreover, this innate body was not something an ordinary martial king's innate body could compare with. To be honest, Suyu's current physique was an innate Xiantian constitution. All the meridians in her body had been opened. As for ordinary martial king realm experts, they would only be able to open the main meridians in their bodies. The difference between the two was like heaven and earth. A martial artist's meridians were directly related to their strength. The more meridians that were opened in the body, the more effective it would be for a martial artist when they cultivated. At the same time, they would be able to display more strength. Suyu was only at the martial marquis realm, but she had already opened all the meridians in her body. This meant that in her future cultivation, she would no longer need to painstakingly accumulate strength to open her meridians. Instead, she would be able to break through the barrier and advance. How could her cultivation speed be limited to 1,000 miles a day? Furthermore, with all the meridians in her body open and flowing, the strength that Suyu could display would be far above other experts of the same level. It could be said that Luo Qingtong had already used her eye technique to build a smooth path to the heavens for her. Chapter 171. Mistress. Suyu's eyes were filled with tears. She had never thought that she would have such a day. With her current physique, she would be a genius that everyone would fight for even in the 4 great sacred dynasties. A carp leaping over the dragon's gate in a day. And all of this was brought about by the girl in front of her. She had bought her and saved her. She even gave her such a great opportunity. Suyu felt that even if she were to be smashed to pieces, she would never be able to repay Mistress's kindness. Mistress. She struggled to get up, but fell back onto the couch. Luo Qingtong wanted to press her back down, but was stopped by her. After a few times, Suyu finally dragged her body and knelt in front of Luo Qingtong, dripping with cold sweat. Mistress. Suyu has a request. You want to destroy the Qing clan and Sunrise Country? Luo Qingtong looked in her direction blankly. I can agree to this request of yours. The Qing clan had provoked her, so Luo Qingtong didn't mind making them pay the price. Suyu's ability wasn't bad, so she could let her do it. No. Unexpectedly, Suyu shook her head. I know that if I ask Mistress will definitely help me. But Suyu doesn't want to implicate Mistress because of her own matters. Moreover, the blood feud of my Su clan can't be resolved just by destroying them. I want them to pay a price that's even more disastrous than the destruction of my Su clan. I want to use my hands to bring them complete despair and pain. I want them to know that what they did to my Su clan back then was a huge mistake. Only in this way can my Su clan's spirit in heaven be comforted. Suyu said these words with great difficulty. She had just escaped death, and her entire body was extremely weak. However, that body was still standing perfectly straight. That beautiful and fierce face that did not lose its heroic spirit was filled with determination and determination. She couldn't implicate Mistress anymore. She had to avenge herself. This time, because of her, her master was almost in danger. She would never allow it to happen again. Master, please allow me to go to the southern wasteland, the land of chaos. Suyu was willing to become the sword in Master's hand and create a powerful force that absolutely belonged to Master. So that Master will have no more worries in the future. Master, please grant my wish. Suyu bent down heavily and kowtowed in front of Luo Qingtong. There were layers of bandages on her back, but at this moment, they were completely torn apart by her movements. Blood quickly gushed out. The extreme south wilderness. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes. Outside of the eastern region where the four great holy dynasties were located, it was a desolate area that had yet to be fully opened. That place had the most ferocious savage beasts, the most treacherous hearts, and the most abundant resources. Countless countries and forces had sent people to work hard in it, and the rich resources they obtained were all sent back to their respective forces. That area was truly a land of chaos. Bandits and mercenaries ran rampant. In that place, there were no rules or laws, only blood and death. But at the same time, once one made a name for himself there, the rewards would be very frightening. That was a place where both opportunity and death were equal. For Su Yu to make such a choice, it was obvious that she had already disregarded life and death. "All right. I promise you," Luo Qingtong said in a low voice. Since Su Yu had such intentions, why wouldn't she grant her wish? Moreover, she did need a force of her own. Whether it was for herself or for the Luo clan. She needed to build a force that no one would dare to humiliate. The extreme south wilderness was indeed the best place to break through. Chapter 172. Thank you, Master. Su Yu kowtowed again. Su Yu swears by the heavens and earth that I will never betray Master in this life. I will serve Master for the rest of my life. If I have second thoughts, I will be punished by the heavens and earth. Rumble. When Su Yu made the vow, the heavens and earth shook. 2 undetectable rays of light fell from the sky. Luo Qingtong had a realization in her heart. Su Yu's words had been recorded by the heavens and earth. If she violated it in the future, she would be punished by the heavens and earth. This kind of punishment was much harsher than offering one's soul and serving Luo Qingtong as master. Because she offered her soul to serve Luo Qingtong as her master, if Su Yu had second thoughts, as long as Luo Qingtong was willing to let her go, she could still live. However, the heavens and earth were the arbiters of the heavens and earth. As long as Su Yu had any thoughts of disrespecting or even harming Luo Qingtong, the heavens and earth would sense it and punish her immediately. Moreover, after she was killed, she would never be reincarnated. Luo Qingtong's heart was shaken. She didn't expect Su Yu to make such a heavy vow. She saved Su Yu only because her authority was shaken, so she used the Qing family as a warning to others. Su Yu had sold her life to her. Good. Su Yu, since you vowed to follow me forever, I won't treat you unfairly. Luo Qingtong narrowed her eyes and raised her hand to summon Snowball. Take it with you and let it grow with you. The southern wilderness is dangerous, but it can protect you at critical moments. In addition, this is the weapon used by Elder Lu. It's a good spiritual weapon. Combined with the king-level technique, Raging Flame Cut, its power can't be underestimated. Later, I'll copy the king-level cultivation method, Raging Flame Slash, and give it to you. Luo Qingtong's voice was light, but she didn't know how shocked Su Yu was. King-level cultivation technique? Raging Flame Slash? Copy it out for her? This. Not only did Master learn the Raging Flame Slash, a king-level cultivation technique, on the spot, but he also completely understood it and could copy it into a secret manual for her. Is Mistress really not a martial emperor? This was not something a martial master could do. Su Yu was shocked beyond words. She didn't even pay attention to what Luo Qingtong said about Snowball. She only thought that it was just an ordinary spiritual pet. Moss. Master? He watched as Luo Qingtong copied the king-level cultivation method right in front of him and concocted a bunch of medicinal liquid for him on the spot. Su Yu realized that he was almost numb from the shock. Oh my god. How much ability does Master have that hasn't been revealed yet? Master's refining speed was simply faster than any other alchemist she had seen before. Su Yu had never seen any alchemist refining medicine like Master. He just casually glanced at it, then raised his hand and rubbed it. A bunch of medicinal liquid came out. Moreover, the medicinal strength of each medicinal liquid was very rich. Even if Suyu didn't study the elixirs, she could see that the elixirs refined by her master were extraordinary. The medicinal strength was so rich that it was even richer than the best medicinal liquid she had encountered in the Su family. Master. You. What level of alchemist are you? She couldn't help but ask. Chapter 173. Suyu listened to those words, then looked at her own master's flamboyant movements. Almost casually kneading and pinching to perfectly refine the medicinal liquid, and her entire person was petrified. Never learned alchemy? Master, are you kidding me? Even if she wasn't an alchemist, Suyu also knew that her master's incomparably skilled movements weren't something that an ordinary alchemist could perform. Instant medicine. Master, if you still say you don't know alchemy like this, you'll be beaten when you go out. Just as Suyu was shocked beyond words by her own master, Luo Qingtong had already finished refining a batch of medicinal liquid for her at an extremely fast speed. Looking at the pile of medicinal liquid in front of her, Luo Qingtong was very dissatisfied in her heart. These medicinal liquids were actually still not enough. Suyu wanted to establish a force, so naturally, the more medicinal liquids she had, the better. But there were too many of these things. How was Suyu going to take them all? Luo Qingtong thought about it and frowned. At this time, Suyu also discovered the problem. Master seemed to have prepared a lot of things for her. She looked at the large pile of medicinal bottles on the ground, and her heart was tangled. The quality of the medicinal liquids refined by Master was very good. Not to mention how much it would cost to invite an alchemist like Master. There were basically no alchemists in the extreme south wilderness. These medicinal liquids would be very useful in the future. Relying on these medicinal liquids, she could completely make a name for herself in the extreme south wilderness in a short time. Suyu had confidence in herself. But it wasn't easy to take so many medicinal liquids. If only there was a space storage treasure. She sighed and said. What treasure? Luo Qingtong, who was thinking about how to put these things in Suyu, heard and asked. A space storage treasure. It's a Sumeru spatial spiritual tool. Suyu explained to Luo Qingtong. However, Sumeru spatial spirit tools are extremely rare and precious. Only inscription masters can refine them. Every time it is refined, it will be snatched up by all the major forces. Ordinary people don't even have the chance to get it. Some people have never even heard of it and don't know that such a magical treasure exists in this world. If I have a Sumeru spatial spirit tool, I can store all of these medicinal liquids in it. I can carry them with me, and I won't be afraid of anything else, Suyu said. Hearing this, Luo Qingtong looked pensive. Sumeru spatial spirit artifact, this thing is really convenient. She was just worrying about where to put all the good stuff she got in the future. Does the auction house sell these things? If there is, I'll buy it. For Luo Qingtong, problems that could be solved with money were not problems at all. No. Suyu shook her head. Master, you don't know. Sumeru spatial spirit tools were far too precious. They would almost never be sold in public auctions. Even those secret auctions where ordinary people couldn't enter were rarely sold. It's basically impossible to buy them. The secret auctions where you can buy Sumeru spatial spirit tools can only be found in the main cities of the great holy dynasties. Without a certain status and strength, you can't enter. So troublesome? Luo Qingtong frowned as she listened. Suddenly, she thought of something. She raised her hand and released Little Pig from the 9-layer exquisite pagoda. Among the things Tian Mingzi left for me, is there a Sumeru spatial spirit tool? Of course not. Little Pig rolled his eyes as he was being carried by her. It's already good enough that he could escape from those people with the life and death duality sword and 9-layer exquisite pagoda. You still expect him to bring those trash with him? Is there a hole in his brain? Luo Qingtong, those trash. She raised her eyebrows. Chapter 174. That's right. Little Pig was swaying in her hand, and its 4 little hooves were flapping. Isn't it just those trash? Have you forgotten what that old man Tianmingzi does? He can make as much trash as he wants. Why would he need to bring them? Luo Qingtong instantly remembered. In the inheritance that Tianmingzi gave her, he mentioned the great Tao of inscription. He was an inscription master, so he naturally didn't care about those spatial spiritual tools. After all, he could make them whenever he wanted. What do you need spatial spiritual tools for? Little Pig asked as it looked around and saw a pile of medicinal liquid on the ground. Don't tell me it's for storing these things. Is there a problem? Luo Qingtong raised her eyebrows and looked at Little Pig. She was thinking about the probability of learning inscription patterns and refining spatial spiritual tools. However, she didn't know anything about inscription patterns right now, so it would be a little difficult to apply what she learned now. If she spent too much time on it, the losses would outweigh the gains. After all, she had been away from the Luo family for a long time, so she had to go back and take a look. Luo Qingtong frowned as she thought about it. At this moment, Little Pig's voice sounded. Why would I need a spatial spiritual tool to store these things? It's fine as long as it can store things. Little Pig said as it wriggled in Luo Qingtong's hand. Let go of me first. I remember that I have some things that old man Tianmingzi ruined. I thought they were pretty, so I kept them. Although they don't have spatial spiritual tools, they can still store things. I'll go get them for you. Luo Qingtong let go of Little Pig after hearing that. The little pig disappeared in a flash. After a while, it came out with a ring on each of its hooves. Here. This is Grandpa Pig's collection. Look at these 2 rings, aren't they beautiful? Little Pig proudly put his little hooves in front of Luo Qingtong. At the side, Siu was already stunned by the conversation between Luo Qingtong and Little Pig. She looked up from Little Pig's trotters and instantly sucked in a breath of cold air. Oh my God! Surprisingly, Little Pig's hooves were adorned with 2 extremely luxurious rings. The rings were decorated with 2 mythical beasts of unknown origin. The majestic aura around the rings was so vivid that people couldn't help but want to worship them. Are these 2 ruined items? What would they look like if they were refined? Su Yu's eyes widened, and she didn't know what to say. She had seen countless treasures, but none of them could be compared to the 2 rings Little Pig took out. The mythical beasts on the rings were so lifelike that they could be awakened at any moment. She is indeed very beautiful. Luo Qingtong also praised her. Of course. Little Pig's tail was almost raised to the sky. That's my taste. If they weren't beautiful, why would I keep them? Here. Take them. Although these 2 rings are ruined, at least the space inside is barely formed. Don't even think about adjusting the flow of time, moving mountains, filling seas, gathering spirit springs, and so on. It's not a problem to store things that are hundreds or thousands of square meters. Bam! After Little Pig finished speaking, Siu fell to the ground with a bang. Oh my God! Hundreds or thousands of square meters? This is still considered a waste? Chapter 175. Suyu wasn't an ignorant person. On the contrary, during the Su family's glorious days, she went to the secret auction with the Su family's general. At that time, a storage ring was auctioned at a sky-high price in the secret auction. All parties were fighting over it. Suyu clearly remembered that it was a storage ring refined by an extremely famous inscription master in the Holy Dynasty. 100 square meters of storage ring was enough to shock all parties. At that time, the 4 great holy dynasties and the imperial family were all present. The whole auction scene was unprecedentedly grand. And now, Siu looked at the trash that Luo Qingtong handed to her. Her lips twitched. She imprinted her spiritual power on it and was shocked to find that it was an incomparably spacious space. However, it was surrounded by a dusky mist, as if there was something that hadn't been expanded yet. Suyu didn't doubt that Little Pig's words were true. This was really a trash. And the real Sumeru spatial spiritual tools function wasn't just for storage. Adjusting the flow of time, moving mountains and filling seas, gathering spirit springs. Oh my God. Is this a real Sumeru spatial spiritual tool? The Sumeru spatial spiritual tools that she had heard of before were inferior to trash. Suyu was shocked, and so was Luo Qingtong. She didn't expect the inscription technique to be so powerful. Luo Qingtong was very interested in the effects of the Sumeru spatial spiritual tool that Little Pig mentioned. Adjusting the flow of time, moving mountains and filling seas, gathering spirit springs, it seemed like she had to study the inscription technique when she had the time. This was a field that she had never come into contact with before. Luo Qingtong was now a little curious about the inscription technique. After letting Suyu rest, Luo Qingtong returned to her room and used her fastest speed to refine the medicinal liquid that she was going to prepare for Suyu. Looking at the half-filled storage ring in Suyu's hand, Luo Qingtong nodded with satisfaction. This should be enough. The main thing was that Luo Qingtong didn't want to attract too much attention. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a problem for her to fill Suyu's storage ring to the brim. Luo Qingtong spent 3 days refining the medicine. During these 3 days, the answers that Yi Qianxian wanted were presented to him in the Blackfield Subsidies report. Master, we've investigated it. There was nothing unusual about the servant called Little Six when he went out of the door and into the medicine storage room. The only strange thing is that when she was in the medicine warehouse, she asked for an extra ingredient, the Heaven's Heart Jasper fruit. Master's Heart's Heart Jade Heart's Master, Master's Heart's gift. Bei Qing and Feng Yu kneeled in front of Yi Qianren and reported. The two of them used all their strength to properly investigate these matters within 3 days. Nothing unusual. Yi Qianxian narrowed his eyes as he looked at the report in his hand. There was no joy or anger on his face. Only that pair of ice-cold eyes flickered with a faint light. That woman's eyes were indeed fine at that time. In that case, her eyes could temporarily recover. Yi Qianxian's index finger tapped on the table as his eyes drooped slightly. The damage of the medicine and poison wasn't so easy to cure. Since she came to the city lord's mansion to steal the Jade Heaven's Heart fruit, it meant that she needed that medicine very much. It was very likely that it was one of the antidotes for her medicine and poison. That woman was really not simple. Chapter 176. Yi Qianxian narrowed his eyes. Take this to Elder Yu and ask him to figure out the antidote for other poisons. Also, show me the list of medicinal ingredients that the evil doctor handed to the bloody arena. He wanted to see if that woman was the evil doctor or not. Yes. Bei Qing and Feng Yu were about to leave after receiving the order. At this moment, Yi Qianxian stopped them. Wait. He raised his hand and drew a portrait. It was Luo Qingtong's original appearance when she took off her mask in the Blackfield City Lord's mansion. That gorgeous and devilish face was 30% evil and 70% biting cold. The smile on his lips was wanton and carefree. He was really a beautiful young man. It was devilishly charming to the extreme. Bei Qing and Feng Yu took the portrait with cold sweat on their faces. What is Master doing? Didn't he say he was looking for that woman? Why did he draw a portrait of an enchanting young man for us? First, it was the evil doctor. Now, it's an enchanting young man. Master. Master, what's wrong with you? You can't be gay. However, Yi Qianxian couldn't hear their thoughts at all. Spread this picture to all the cities in the superior countries. No, all the cities in the intermediate countries and above. Let them take a closer look. Is there such a person? If there is, immediately report to me. Yi Qianxian was betting. He was betting that this face was the other party's true appearance. At that time, he would know who the evil doctor was. He was going to attack from both sides. He didn't believe that he couldn't find out the other party's true identity. Bei Qing and Feng Yu wiped their cold sweat and got up to leave. Yi Qianxian sat upright on the huge black throne. His face was slightly gloomy and his eyes were slightly narrowed. let's see where you can escape to this time. In the Blackfield City Lord's mansion, Luo Qingtong still didn't know that her identity was about to be exposed. At this moment, she was in the hall, looking at a group of powerful battle slaves that she had gathered. These people were all purchased by her at the slave market. In addition to increasing the number of guards in her residence, it was also to increase the strength of the Luo clan. As the marquis of an inferior country, although the Luo family's status was extraordinary, it was actually very awkward. Its current status was completely based on the engagement with the Tianyu Empire. And now Luo Qingtong wants to break off the engagement. Without the protection of the Tianyu Empire, the forces that had been suppressed by the Luo family would be ready to take action. In this world, it was always easy to add flowers to brocade, but difficult to provide timely help. Luo Qingtong wouldn't put her hope on the possibility that others wouldn't cause trouble for the Luo family. What she wanted was to control everything in her hands. Rather than hoping that others wouldn't come looking for trouble, it was better to be safe than sorry. She preferred to beat up all the people who came looking for trouble, so that they wouldn't dare to cause trouble again. I bought all of you from the slave market. Now, I'll give you 2 choices. 1. Leave Blackfield City with me. 2. Stay in the Blackfield City Lord's mansion and guard it. Luo Qingtong sat on the big chair made of rosewood. Her eyes, which had recovered, swept over the people present. Master, are you going to abandon us? The people who were questioned were very frightened. Especially those in the martial marquis realm. After seeing Luo Qingtong's power before, they had already regarded her as their only master. Even if they didn't want to surrender, they were completely eliminated by Luo Qingtong's series of means. But now, their master actually asked them to make a choice. Chapter 177. That's not it. Luo Qingtong's eyes drooped down slightly. I'm just giving you a chance. But whether you can grasp it or not, it's up to you. Luo Qingtong's voice was faint. Of these 2 paths, one represents the supreme path. As for whether you are willing to take it or not, it's up to you to choose. If they were willing to leave the Blackfield City with her, then when they returned to the eastern border country, even if it was for the Luo family, she would not treat those slaves unfairly. Those people would be another secret force she would set up for the Luo family in the future. She would naturally pave the way for them in the future. As for those who stayed behind, since they chose the comfortable Blackfield City, it showed that they had no spirit to fight. Then they could only be like this in the future. But Luo Qingtong would not tell them this. Everything was up to these battle slaves to decide for themselves. I can only tell you that if you leave with me, it will be very dangerous. Maybe, you won't be able to keep your life. But if you stay in the Blackfield City, it will be relatively safe. You can choose for yourself. Luo Qingtong wore the Luo Sha mask and looked at them. Now, I will count to 3. Those who are willing to go with me, line up on the left. Those who want to stay, line up on the right. As Luo Qingtong spoke, she started counting calmly. 1. Her voice sounded, and the slaves' hearts were in a panic. They didn't know what this choice meant. Seeing that Luo Qingtong had counted to 2, many people suddenly gritted their teeth and chose according to their own ideas. 3. Luo Qingtong's voice stopped. She looked at the battle slaves who were already standing in front of her and nodded. Good. Those who choose to leave with me, now start to leave the city in batches. Luo Qingtong would not give the people in the Blackfield a chance to track her whereabouts. After these battle slaves had all made their choice, she immediately had them leave the city with their identities concealed. Anyway, there were so many slaves coming in and out of her mansion every day. She didn't believe that the Blackfield people would be so bored as to mark everyone. Everyone's eyes were fixed on him. They probably didn't even take these battle slaves seriously. You guys lead the team. Luo Qingtong looked at the martial lord experts and said. None of these people were willing to stay in the mansion in the Blackfield sub-city. They were all willing to leave with her. Very good. In the future, they would know that they had made the right choice. Master. At this moment, Chu Lingfeng stepped forward. He was originally standing behind Luo Qingtong and didn't need to make a choice. But now, he stepped forward and knelt in front of Luo Qingtong. Master, I want to stay in Blackfield City. As soon as Chu Lingfeng's words came out, Luo Qingtong immediately looked at him. Those Martial Marquis realm battle slaves were also very surprised in their hearts. Could it be that this Chu Lingfeng was really a big idiot whose brain wasn't clear? Didn't he know Master's ability? Following Master's side, even if they would face danger, it also represented a huge opportunity. If Master casually gave them something, it would be enough for them to benefit endlessly. He actually didn't want to, but wanted to stay in Blackfield City? Reason. Luo Qingtong looked at Chu Lingfeng. She didn't believe that Chu Lingfeng was the kind of person who was greedy for life and afraid of death and coveted for ease. This big idiot had been very loyal and pure ever since he came back with her. Chapter 178. Master, I want to become stronger. Chu Lingfeng's silly face was full of disappointment. I'm too weak. I can't protect Master if I stay by Master's side. It's good to have a few of them by your side. As he spoke, he raised his hand and pointed to the martial lord experts at the front of the left. With them around, and Master being so powerful, nothing will happen to him. But if I stay by Master's side, I will only implicate Master. Chu Lingfeng tried his best to organize his words. I've thought for a long time. I don't have outstanding talent and my brain is not good. I'm stupid and stupid. How can I be useful to Master? As he spoke, he grinned at Luo Qingtong. I didn't sleep last night. I finally thought of it. Master, I'm not afraid of pain. I can take a beating. I'm not afraid of injury. Master. I'll be your shield from now on. With me here, no one can hurt you. So, I want to stay and go to the bloody arena. Only there can I grow. As Chu Lingfeng spoke, he kneeled a few steps in front of Luo Qingtong and whispered mysteriously, Master, you don't know, I have a secret. My body is strange. The more I take a beating, the stronger I become. A lot of people can't kill me. In the end, their strength becomes mine. Master, don't tell others. My mother said I can't let others know. As Chu Lingfeng spoke, he scratched his head. He didn't know if Master understood. But he knew since he was young that unless he was killed in one blow, he would slowly absorb the strength of those people who beat him. It could either repair his body or increase his strength. Mother said he can't tell others his secret. But Chu Lingfeng felt that Master was not others. And Luo Qingtong's eyes softened. She didn't expect Chu Lingfeng to stay for this reason. This is good. With his special constitution, it was true that the bloody arena was the best place for him to train and improve himself, especially in a place where there were constant battles. This blockhead was really born to fight. Previously, when Luo Qingtong saw his wound, she found it very strange. She felt that his recovery ability was too strong. Who would have thought that there would be such a secret? Okay, then you can stay here. I'll talk to the bloody arena, Luo Qingtong said. Yes. Thank you, Master. Chu Lingfeng's mind was pure. He didn't think that his previous action of staying might make Luo Qingtong unhappy. Hearing that she had agreed, he instantly laughed mischievously, with a face full of disdain. The nearby martial lord realm battle slaves all sighed in their hearts when they saw this. Sigh. Truly, fortune favors fools. If it was someone else, they might have angered Master by making such a move. This blockhead's sincerity actually made Master value him even more. But this kind of sincerity was something they couldn't learn. Who would have thought that Chu Lingfeng wanted to stay to enter the bloody arena? That kind of place was really not a place that martial cultivators who had the slightest ability would want to enter. After all, it was a matter of life and death. Only this blockhead, with his pure mind and wholeheartedly for Master, would make such a decision. The group was divided into two groups. Those who stayed behind were led by Chu Lingfeng. Chapter 179. Rumble. In the mountains outside the Blackfield city, a rumbling sound rose. A huge and beautiful flying boat rose into the air and stopped in front of them. The group of battle slaves who were preparing to leave with Luo Qingtong were stunned. Oh my God! The group of battle slaves were not people who did not know what was good for them. In this world, spiritual weapons were divided into 4 categories: mortal, human, earth, and heaven. Each category was divided into 9 grades. Luo Qingtong's flying boat was clearly an earth-grade spiritual weapon. But they did not know what grade it was. This was an earth-grade spiritual weapon that only the experts of the 4 great holy dynasties were qualified to possess. They did not expect Luo Qingtong to have such a flying boat. Their master's identity must be extraordinary. However, these battle slaves did not know that they had guessed wrong. When they arrived at Eastern Fence Country and found out Luo Qingtong's true identity, they realized how wrong they were. Their powerful and domineering master was actually the eldest daughter of a low-level country's marquis? This was impossible no matter how they looked at it. On the 3rd day after Luo Qingtong and the rest left, Chu Lingfeng came to the bloody arena with the letter left by Luo Qingtong. At this point, the people in the Blackfield city knew that the evil doctor had left. And there was no trace of her at all. Oh my God! My Lord Evil Doctor! Why did you leave just like that? After receiving the news, the Blackfield city lord wanted to cry but had no tears. God knew that he had just received news from the main city to keep an eye on the evil doctor and not make any mistakes. Now, it was not just a mistake, but a complete loss of her. The Blackfield city lord's heart was stifled. Fortunately, Chu Lingfeng, that big blockhead, did not leave, which made him feel more at ease. The other party was personally saved by the evil doctor and arranged for him to enter the bloody arena to gain experience. It was impossible for her to ignore him. Thinking of this, the Blackfield city lord wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and hurriedly reported this news to the main city. At the same time, in the Blackfield's main city, Mingzun Palace, Yi Qianxian also received the list of medicinal herbs that Luo Qingtong had given to the bloody arena. Looking at the words, Heaven's Jade Heart Fruit, the veins on Yi Qianxian's forehead throbbed, evil, doctor, ghost, I. He gritted his teeth as he enunciated each and every word clearly. That woman wanted the exact same herbs, and so did evil Dr. Ghost I. How could there be such a coincidence? The heavens, most likely that evil doctor was that woman. However, during the previous few probings, the other party had always acted like a man, so Yi Qianren could not be completely sure. Damn it. That day in the city lord's manor, she shouldn't have been confused by his perfect eyes. He should have stripped off his clothes. That way, she would know whether he was a man or a woman. Yi Qianren's eyes were cold. He suddenly stood up. Prepare the spirit boat. I'm going to the eastern border nation's Black Region branch city. This time, he would definitely not let the other party escape. He would not allow her to play any tricks. However, just as he finished speaking, Bei Qing hurried in with an urgent report from the Blackfield city lord. Master. The evil doctor has already left the Blackfield city lord. Her whereabouts are unknown. He lowered his head and knelt on the ground to report carefully. Oh my God. The evil doctor had actually disappeared. Master was going to explode from anger. Sure enough, when he heard Bei Qing's report, Yi Qianxian directly crushed the armrest of his throne. Chapter 180. Yes. Bei Qing hurriedly replied. He was afraid that he would be crushed like the armrest of his master's throne if he agreed too late. He wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and left, muttering to himself along the way. Master is too concerned about this evil doctor, isn't he? Even if he has something to do with that girl, shouldn't Master be searching for that girl's whereabouts more closely? Why is he so fixated on the evil doctor the moment he woke up? Master, aren't you putting the cart before the horse? That girl is the main culprit. The evil doctor isn't her. Bei Qing screamed in his heart, wanting his master to realize his mistake as soon as possible. However, when he saw his master's dark face and the broken armrest, he silently swallowed his words. Feng Yu, do you think our master is he? After leaving the main hall, Bei Qing looked at Feng Yu, who was standing beside him, with a conflicted expression. He wanted to say something, but stopped himself. What is it? It's nothing. Feng Yu's lips twitched as he watched a certain figure walk out of the main hall. He kept winking at Bei Qing. Shut up, idiot. Master is coming out. However, Bei Qing, who was dense, didn't understand his meaning at all. Did our master really fall in love with the evil doctor? Why does he care so much about the evil doctor? He's obviously a shameless old man. Feng Yu, do you think our master is, Feng Yu, why are your eyes cramping so much? Are your lips twitching too? Did he have a stroke? You're the one who had a stroke. Your whole family had a stroke. Feng Yu looked at her master's face, which was so dark that ink could drip out of it. She couldn't help but cover her eyes. Bei Qing, this idiot. Moss. Master. Seeing Feng Yu's actions, Bei Qing's single-celled subordinate finally realized what was going on. He turned around and saw his master's dark expression. His face instantly turned green. Oh my God. Master. When did Master come? He, Feng Yu, that disloyal person, did not say anything to remind him. What's the use of just slapping his face? Master, Before Bei Qing could say anything, Yi Qianxian flicked his sleeves and walked past him. Strip him naked and throw him into the brothel. Without my order, no one is allowed to let him out. The cold voice sounded as if it came from the snowfield of the northern kingdom. Bei Qing jumped up from the ground in fright. Master. Master, don't. He didn't want to sell his body. Please change the punishment. Master. However, before he could catch up to Yi Qianxian, he was surrounded by Wind Feather and his men. Bei Qing, you know Master's temperament. She always means what she says. So. Wind Feather looked at him with an elegant smile. Do you want to do it yourself, or do you want us to do it? As he spoke, he twisted his fingers with a ka sound. This idiot, I've already reminded him, but he still wants to find trouble with Master. She had almost been implicated by him. Feng Yu felt that he must carry out Master's orders and teach Bei Qing a lesson. Wait, don't come over. Seeing Wind Feather and his men approaching, Bei Qing subconsciously turned around and tried to escape. However, he was swarmed by them and pressed to the ground. In an instant, he screamed in pain. Chapter 181. Yi Qianxian's anger had yet to subside when he returned to his sleeping quarters. He likes that woman? How could he possibly like that woman? Yi Qianxian had subconsciously linked the evil doctor to that woman. Now, he just needed to confirm it. At this moment, Yi Qianxian's heart was filled with anger because of Bei Qing's words. For so many years, there had been countless men and women who had liked Yi Qianxian, but he had never looked at any of them in the eye. Yi Qianxian's face turned cold as he thought about all those people who claimed to like him throwing themselves at him and doing disgusting things. If that was liking, then he definitely didn't like that woman. However, Yi Qianxian's heart was filled with irritation and anger when he thought about how that woman had escaped from his hands again. He didn't know why, but he just wanted to catch that woman and hold her in the palm of his hand. He wanted to see her arrogant, wanton, and extremely evil side become even more lively in front of him. That woman. He didn't know how many sides she had. She was bold and cunning, intelligent and quick-witted, and black-bellied and evil. She was truly ever-changing and impossible to guard against. Yi Qianxian's heart was filled with an indescribable emotion when he thought about how he had been repeatedly thwarted and taken advantage of by her. He fiercely gritted his teeth. Don't let me catch you. Otherwise, I must get back all those things. Yi Qianxian himself didn't notice that when he mentioned Luo Qingtong, he was gnashing his teeth and feeling ashamed and angry. The only thing missing was murderous intent and murderous intent. If Bei Qing and the others were here, they would definitely be shouting in their hearts, Master, do you have some misunderstanding about the word like? Isn't this what you call like? If it were anyone else, don't even talk about taking advantage of you, they would die if they even touched you. However, there was no one here, so no one knew what Yi Qianxian was thinking at this moment. Just as Yi Qianxian was thinking about catching Luo Qingtong, the latter had already brought a group of battle slaves she had bought and embarked on the journey back to Dongli country. Everyone, including Yi Qianxian, didn't expect that Luo Qingtong was actually from Dongli country. Because of this, all the Blackfield cities had received orders to search for the whereabouts of the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. Only Dongli country's territory was peaceful. After the city lord of the Eastern Fence Nation's Black Region Branch City reported the news of Luo Qingtong's departure, he guarded Luo Qingtong's residence wholeheartedly. He waited for the evil doctor to return so that he could inform his lord immediately. As to search for her whereabouts? Haha. How could someone like the evil doctor be from Dongli country? One had to know that even among the inferior countries, Dongli country was definitely at the bottom of the list. Evil doctor to Dongli Eye. Because of this, Luo Qingtong's journey was very smooth even when there was a huge wave of people searching for her outside. It could almost be described as pleasant. However, this feeling of contentment was quickly broken by a certain piece of news that he heard along the way. Hey, have you heard? The Luo family wants to break off the engagement with the Tianyu royal family and angered them. Now they are being suppressed everywhere. Life in Dongli country is very difficult. Isn't that so? Sigh. We heard about it too. The Luo family is also unlucky. Isn't it normal for the Luo family to break off the engagement after what the Tianyu royal family did? Do you want to see your granddaughter jump into the fire pit with your own eyes? I respect old Master Luo as a man. What a pity. Chapter 182. Hearing these voices, Luo Qingtong threw a piece of silver on the table and summoned a waiter. Here's a piece of silver. Tell me about the Luo family in Dongli State. Yes, sir. Looking at the piece of silver thrown on the table, the waiter's face lit up with joy. Sir, you're not from here, right? The news has been spreading around here for days. Alas. The Luo family is really unlucky. Ever since Master Luo went to Tianyu Empire to break off the engagement, the Luo family has been suppressed by various forces in Dongli State. Even the royal family of Dongli State summoned Master Luo to the palace and reprimanded him several times. They said it was for political and military affairs, but everyone knows that if the royal family of Tianyu State didn't say anything, they wouldn't dare to touch the Luo family. Isn't that a slap to the royal family of Tianyu State? Alas. But Master Luo is really stubborn. He won't change his mind. And he said in public that whether the royal family of Tianyu State agrees or not, he will break off the engagement. He will never let his granddaughter marry into the royal family of Tianyu State. That young lady of the Luo family is really lucky. She has such a grandpa who is wholeheartedly thinking for her. She is indeed very lucky. As Luo Qingtong spoke, she raised her hand and threw the silver to the waiter. Then, she took out another piece of silver and threw it over. And this is for you. As Luo Qingtong spoke, she led the group of battle slave experts and left. Sir. Customer, you're the one who just entered the store. Don't you want to eat? The waiter chased after her. Luo Qingtong didn't look back, no need. She was full of anger. What else could she eat? The royal family of Tianyu State. You guys are really great. Luo Qingtong's smile was cold. She didn't want to deal with them so soon. But since they couldn't wait, she would feel bad if she didn't follow their wishes. Then she would ask for some interest first. Let's see if they still have the time to deal with the Luo family. Take the spirit boat to Eastern Fence Nation's Windgaze City and secretly protect the Luo clan. Don't let anyone humiliate them. Especially Grandpa Luo. Whoever dares to harm him, kill them all. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. Although the group of battle slaves didn't understand why, they naturally obeyed their master's orders. However, Master, is it just old Master Luo alone? If that was the case, then this mission would be simple. A few martial marquis experts, as well as a group of upper-middle-level great martial general experts, to protect the Luo clan, was not a trivial matter. The majority of the Luo clan cannot be harmed. But you don't have to protect the second branch of the Luo family. Luo Qingtong's voice was cold. Now that the royal family of Tianyu had made a move against the Luo family, she didn't believe that Luo Xinming and the others wouldn't do anything. She would deal with this family after she returned. Luo Xinming had been jumping around for a long time. In a month's time, it would be the Empire of Qin's Tianyu branch examination. She probably couldn't wait any longer. She didn't know how much her strength had improved after she was taken away by the imperial family of Tianyu. If the improvement was too little, he would be disappointed. Luo Qingtong's smile was bloodthirsty and wanton. Luo Xinming and the rest had better not participate in the attack against the Luo clan. If she found out that these people were helping outsiders to deal with the Luo clan, she would skin them alive. Yes. Chapter 183. Before Luo Qingtong left, she'd left them a token. In the event of an emergency, they could take the token directly to Grandfather Luo. The latter would believe their identities once he saw the token. However, Luo Qingtong felt that the people of Dongli might not dare to be so bold. After all, her engagement with Tianyu's imperial family hadn't been annulled yet. They could help Tianyu's imperial family embarrass the Luo clan, but they didn't have the guts to destroy the Luo clan. However, one had to be prepared for both eventualities, right? If the people of Dongli dared to lay a hand on Grandfather Luo, she would overturn the entire country and then attack Tianyu's imperial family. She would make them pay the price. Swoosh. After giving instructions, Luo Qingtong flew out of the spirit boat. The group of battle slaves went to Dongli according to her instructions, while she went to the imperial capital of Tianyu Empire. At the same time, Dongli's Blackfield branch welcomed a group of unexpected guests. May I ask if this is Evil Dr. Ghost Eye's residence? A group of well-trained people stopped at the entrance of the Evil Doctor's residence and asked respectfully. Yes. However, my master has gone out and is not in the residence. The battle slave in charge of guarding the gate nodded. The Evil Doctor is not here? The guard was taken aback when he heard this and subconsciously looked at the carriage behind him. What should they do? They'd escorted their young master all the way here to find Evil Dr. Ghost Eye for an antidote, but he wasn't here. When will Lord Evil Doctor return? If it wasn't too long, they could stay in the Blackfield branch and wait. I don't know. My master didn't say. The battle slave in charge of guarding the gate shook his head. This. The guard wanted to say something else, but a voice came from the carriage. Forget it. Since the Evil Doctor isn't here, we'll leave first. Please accept this invitation and give it to the Evil Doctor when he returns. Tell him that the House of Lanua invites the Evil Doctor to visit us. Please do not hesitate to come. The House of Lanua. Once those words were spoken, that battle slave's expression instantly turned cold. Clearly, he had heard of the Lanua family before. The Lanua aristocratic family was an extremely ancient aristocratic family of the Tianyu Empire. Even the imperial family of the Tianyu Empire couldn't compare to its background. This was especially true for the current generation of the Sleeping Moon family, where a super genius had appeared. Because of this, the House of Lanua's reputation resounded throughout the Empire of Qin. It was said that the Lanua family's foundation wasn't limited to this. It was just that most people didn't know about it. While the battle slave was in a daze, an invitation was handed out from the carriage. The purplish gold edges and the wax seal made the battle slave suck in a sharp breath. The purple gold invitation was the highest level of invitation the aristocratic families could give to outsiders. The Lanhua aristocratic family actually invited Master with such courtesy. The battle slave hurriedly took the invitation. The people from the Lanhua family bowed to him and left. "Little Master, it's all right. When the evil doctor returns and receives the invitation, he will definitely come to our Lanhua family. At that time, the poison in young Master's body will be cured." In the carriage, a cute little Shota looked back at the evil doctor's residence with reluctance. He turned back and shook his head. "I'm not afraid of not being cured." He missed Fairy Sister. He didn't know if that evil doctor was really Fairy Sister. When he thought of the peerless girl who'd saved him on Dongli Nation's 9 Shaman Mountain, his eyes dimmed. Chapter 184. Tianyu Empire, Family Yenyu. Blackfield. Reading the news from the Blackfield subcity of Dongli State, Yi Qianxian's eyes were cold. He sat on the throne expressionlessly and tapped on the armrest. The next second, he suddenly stood up. "Prepare the spirit boat. We're going to the Tianyu Empire." It didn't matter whether the family Yenyu knew the evil doctor or not. It was always good to take a look. The highest level of invitation. It seemed that the family Yenyu was surprised by the family Yenyu. However, he had checked and found that the evil Dr. Gui Tong first became famous in the Blackfield subcity of Dongli State. There was no information about him before that. In that case, how did the people of the Lanhua family find out about him? Yi Qianxian narrowed his eyes. Just for this point, it was worth taking a look. It would be best if he could uncover the identity of the evil doctor. Speaking of which, the evil doctor was too good at hiding. That portrait had been circulated for so long, but there was no news about it. Thinking of this, the veins on Yi Qianxian's forehead bulged again. "Yes, Master." Feng Yu answered and then stole a glance at Yi Qianxian. He coughed lightly and asked, "Master, do we need Bei Qing to follow us this time?" "Bring her along." Yi Qianxian glanced at him and knew that he was pleading for Bei Qing. But the latter had been thrown into the brothel for several days. She should have been punished enough. "Yes." Feng Yu answered and left, taking his men to the brothel. Bei Qing was still being trained in the brothel. "Your fingers should be so curly. Like an orchid." "Bei Qing. Are you going to stab the person you want to get information out of with your fingers?" Slap. Bei Qing's hand was slapped. In an instant, his hair stood on end. "Zuofei, you bastard. You hit me dozens of times today. I dare you to hit me again." Bei Qing was a big man who was 1.8 meters tall. He was only wearing a red gauze robe. Coupled with his angry expression, he was indescribably eye-catching. Opposite him, a charming and seductive man sat in front of him and sneered at him. "This is what Master told me to do. Anyone who enters my espionage workshop is one of my subordinates." "What? Do you want to eat and not work? Why do I keep you as a freeloader? And you eat so much. You even use buckets to scoop your rice." "Anne." Zuofei glanced at him with a look of disdain. "I didn't even say that you lowered the standards of the beauties here. What else do you have to say? You look like a bear." Bei Qing wanted He Fei's words, "Uncle Zuofei's he you, Bei, he and you, he was." Him. Zuofei waved the feather fan in his hand and opened his thin lips when he saw that the young man was about to charge at him. "Master." Bei Qing was immediately discouraged by his master's words. So arrogant, right? He lifted the hem of his gauze robe angrily, sat down at the table and raised his thumb and middle finger. "My eyes." Zuofei looked at him and suddenly raised his fan to cover his eyes. "Damn it. No one can stop me. I must kill him." Just as Bei Qing was about to kill him, Feng Yu and the others came. Ha, ha, ha. Looking at Bei Qing's charming appearance in her gauze dress, the crowd instantly burst into laughter, not caring about their image. Bei Qing, not bad. This outfit suits you very well. Ha, ha, ha. Get out of here. Bei Qing's face turned green. Did these bastards come to laugh at him? Don't. Master said you can go. Let's go to the Tianyu Empire. Feng Yu held back her laughter and caught his fist. Take off your clothes. Let's go. I don't need you to remind me. Bei Qing took off his gauze robe as fast as he could, put on a robe and ran away. Chapter 185. Tianyu Empire's Imperial Capital. Luo Qingtong walked down the street and looked around at the bustling buildings with a faint smile on her face. Tianyu Empire's imperial capital is quite prosperous. Compared to Dongli Empire, Tianyu Empire was more than 10 streets ahead of Wingate City. Hee, it's good to be prosperous. You can cause trouble whenever you want. Master. My good master, how are you going to deal with Tianyu's imperial family? Little Pig was jumping around happily in Luo Qingtong's sleeve, his 4 little hooves stomping here and there. Causing trouble. I like it. It's great to follow such a decisive and vengeful master. Tianyu's imperial family is going to be in trouble. Would it be able to reap some benefits from this? Little Pig's heart jumped with joy at the thought of regaining some of his strength. Sigh, it's all my fault, otherwise, I wouldn't have turned into such a cute pet. Look at that pink little nose, look at those fluttering little ears, and then look at that pink appearance from head to toe. He doesn't look like a divine beast at all. If my previous opponents saw this, they would laugh themselves to death. I have to recover my strength as soon as possible. What's the hurry? Luo Qingtong's lips curled up. Since she came here, she naturally had her own plans. Tianyu's imperial family is definitely going to pay a heavy price this time. Luo Qingtong wasn't in a hurry to find trouble with Tianyu's imperial family. Know thyself and know thy enemy, and you'll never be defeated. She had to make a good plan to make Tianyu's imperial family suffer so much that they won't have time to find trouble with the Luo family. Luo Qingtong arrived at the most prosperous restaurant in Tianyu Empire's imperial capital, which was also the closest to the imperial palace. She picked the highest seat by the window and drank tea while looking at the magnificent imperial palace shrouded in the afterglow of the setting sun. At this time, Yi Qianxian's group also arrived at Tianyu Empire's imperial capital. They set off later than Luo Qingtong, but the Atlas spirit ship could travel 1,000 li in a day, so they quickly arrived at Tianyu Empire's imperial capital. Master, it's getting late. Why don't we have a meal here and stay the night? We'll pay the Lanhua clan a visit tomorrow morning, Feng Yu said to Yi Qianxian. All right, Yi Qianxian replied faintly. This time, the man was dressed in a white brocade robe. His black hair was tied up high, and his eyes were cold. That elegant and noble aura was embellished by the white robe, making him look like an immortal from the 9 heavens. However, it also carried an indescribable domineering aura. Yi Qianxian didn't use his identity as Ming Zun when he was outside, and he didn't wear his trademark dark gold mask either. When the group of people entered the restaurant, it instantly caused a commotion. Looking at this man who was like the clouds and the moon, as well as the peak of a mountain that was hard to look at, the noisy restaurant instantly quieted down. It was only when Yi Qianxian and the others went up to the private room on the top floor that the noise from below exploded again. Wow! Did you see that? The man in the lead was so handsome. He's really like an immortal from the heavens. Yes. And his aura is so amazing. The 2 attendants beside him are not weak either. It's so scary. They just glanced at me out of the corner of their eyes, and my legs are still shaking. I really don't know where this noble young master came from. This aura, I'm afraid only the direct descendants of the aristocratic families from the sacred dynasty can cultivate such an aura, right? There was a burst of whispers in the hall downstairs, all of them guessing Yi Qianxian's identity. The latter didn't deliberately reveal his aura, but the trace of aura that leaked out occasionally was enough to awe others and make them unconsciously focus their attention on him. Chapter 186. Oh my God. Luo Qingtong instantly turned around and covered her face with the wine glass. Holy shit. Why is that man here? Why is he here too? Damn it. Luo Qingtong felt gloomy and wished she could run away right now. This man must be my jinx. Why is he everywhere I go? She decided to come to Tianyu Empire's imperial city on the spur of the moment. How could she still run into him? Could her fate be any worse? What a pain in the ass. On the other side, Little Pig seemed to have sensed the aura hidden on Yi Qianren's body. It instantly laid down its 4 little hooves and curled up in Luo Qingtong's sleeve without making a sound. Oh my God. This woman ran into that man again. Luckily, the seal on my body has been broken. That man shouldn't be able to detect my whereabouts like he did in 9 Magi Mountain. As long as I behave myself, but what about this woman? I can't run away if she's exposed. Ah, something's wrong. This woman is in men's clothing now. What's there to be afraid of? You're a man now. Don't be afraid of him. Little Pig laid in her sleeve and whispered, don't be such a coward. Of course I'm a coward. Luo Qingtong gritted her teeth and replied, although I'm in men's clothing now, he saw my face at the Castellan's mansion in eastern border country's Blackfield City. In other words, as long as a man saw her current appearance, he would know she was Evil Physician Ghost Eye. So what? It's just Evil Physician Ghost Eye. He doesn't know you're the woman who poisoned him in 9 Magi Mountain. Why are you so nervous? Little Pig rolled its eyes. It was also nervous just now. Now that it thought about it, so what if it's Evil Physician Ghost Eye? That man won't hold on to me for dear life. Didn't you say he stopped suspecting you when he found your eyes intact? That's true. Luo Qingtong relaxed a little when she thought of this. At that time, that man had indeed stopped suspecting her. Luo Qingtong was still able to see through this. As for the matter of sneaking into the city lord's mansion and tricking that man again, he had already fainted at that time. It was impossible for him to know that it was hers. Luo Qingtong thought and heaved a long sigh of relief. It was all because of that man's suspicions. Her nerves were all tensed up. At this moment, Feng Yu walked over. Master, let's sit here. Wind Feather went upstairs and looked around. All the good seats near the windows were almost full. There was another table beside Luo Qingtong's seat. She immediately said to Yi Qianxian. The man responded in a low voice and walked over with his hands behind his back. Luo Qingtong's lips twitched as she watched them sit down opposite her. Fortunately, she had been drinking with her head lowered, so Yi Qianxian and the others did not notice her. After Feng Yu sat down in Yi Qianxian, he called for the waiter to order some dishes and wine. Most of the people's gazes were focused on Yi Qianxian, but the man seemed to be oblivious to it. He leaned against the window with his eyes slightly downcast. His gaze was indifferent and cold as he watched the scene outside. Luo Qingtong also took advantage of everyone's gazes to secretly size him up from the corner of her eyes. The more she looked, the more she felt this man was truly a peerless evildoer. Even a casual pose was so eye-catching. Even though he didn't do anything, he was still able to attract people's gazes, making it impossible to remove them. However, Luo Qingtong also noticed that Yi Qianxian didn't wear a mask this time. He also didn't use any power to cover his face. It was obvious that he was walking around with his identity concealed. It's good to hide his identity. Chapter 187. Her gaze roamed around the man's body, and her mind was racing. To be honest, Luo Qingtong was very curious about the injuries on Yi Qianxian's body. The injuries on this man's body were the only ones that she couldn't see through. The more it was like this, the more curious Luo Qingtong was. In her previous life, she had traversed countries all over the world, and had special abilities in the ancient martial arts world. Because of this curiosity, she didn't know how many aristocratic families, sects, and powers she had destroyed because of this curiosity. She couldn't see through the injuries on this man's body. Now that she saw him walking around with a hidden identity, how could Luo Qingtong's heart not be tempted? Previously, this man was Ming Zun, and she couldn't get close to him. Now that he was hiding his identity, could she pretend not to know his identity, and brush up on his favorability, and see his internal injuries? Luo Qingtong thought, and in a flash, she went through this matter in her heart. It's feasible. In any case, although this man had seen her face, he only knew that she was the evil Dr. Ghost Eye. It's good that he knew. It also saved her the trouble of finding an excuse to see his injuries. Luo Qingtong thought like this, and immediately put down the wine cup in her hand, and walked over to Yi Qianxian. This brother's temperament is like the wind and the moon, making people admire you very much. I don't know if I have the honor of drinking with this brother at the same table? Luo Qingtong's eyes were quick-witted. Just when she got up, she had already activated the trace of power that Tian Mingzi left in her eyes, and restored her eyes. The young man's face was enchanting and gorgeous, and his pair of clear eyes were extremely pure and clean. The light flowing in his eyes was crafty and quick-witted, giving people an indescribable feeling of wanting to explore. That temperament of his was even more unscrupulous, but it didn't make people dislike him. Instead, it made people feel that this person was very interesting. She moved closer to Yi Qianxian's side, completely ignoring the aura that kept people away from him, and looked at him with a smile. "Brother, how is it?" Yi Qianxian's eyes were deep and serene. He watched as Luo Qingtong stood beside him and put her hand on his shoulder without any hesitation. His heart felt very strange. He didn't expect to find him so quickly, and in such a way. Hadn't this woman, no, this evil doctor always been afraid of him? When they saw him, they were like mice that had seen a cat. Don't even mention how fast they ran. Yi Qianxian recalled his interactions with Luo Qingtong and realized that both the evil doctor and that woman would run as far away as possible from him. She had used all kinds of tricks just to escape from his hands. But now, it had taken the initiative to deliver it to him. Yi Qianxian looked at the young man in front of him, unable to react. He had completely forgotten about his decision to capture the young man the moment he saw him and interrogate him to find out his identity. Luo Qingtong was not annoyed by his silence. This man was just like that. She was used to it. She smiled and sat down beside Yi Qianxian. "Brother, if you don't say anything, I'll take it as a yes," Luo Qingtong said as she poured herself a glass of wine. She smiled and raised her glass to Yi Qianxian, saying, "I wonder where you're from. How should I address you?" She's truly charming, making people admire her from the bottom of their hearts. She wanted to get close to Yi Qianxian, so of course, she had to flatter him. Of course, she wasn't wrong. Yi Qianxian had always been charming. Luo Qingtong could vaguely see that Yi Qianxian had slightly altered his appearance. If he revealed his real appearance, the impact would be more than 10 times greater. Chapter 188. However, Luo Qingtong didn't expect that with her current appearance as a man and her current actions, she would say such frivolous words. Rather than praise, it would be better to say that she was flirting with Yi Qianxian. However, the heavens took pity on her. Luo Qingtong really didn't have that intention. She was seriously praising Yi Qianxian and wanted to build a good relationship with him, okay? Hiss. Seeing this outstanding youth's actions, many people around them gasped. This man wasn't someone to be trifled with. This youth actually dared to strike up a conversation with him. His words were so frivolous and indescribable. His courage was truly commendable. Feng Yu and Bei Qin were also stunned by Luo Qingtong's boldness. Oh my God! Was this youth courting death? When Yi Qianxian hid his identity outside, there was no lack of men and women who were attracted by his appearance to strike up a conversation with him. But those people, without exception, all of them died very miserably. They didn't expect this youth to be even bolder than them today. He even put his hand on their master's shoulder. They watched as Luo Qingtong smiled and moved closer to Yi Qianxian. She raised her cup as if she was familiar with him and wanted to drink with him. They couldn't help but raise their hands to cover their faces. This youth is dead meat. However, after waiting for a long time, they didn't hear any screams or cries from the youth. Instead, they heard their master's voice ring out. Admiration? Yi Qianxian played with the wine cup that Luo Qingtong had stuffed into his hand. His eyes darkened as he looked at her. This woman had said these two words twice. Was she trying to emphasize something? Yes. Luo Qingtong didn't know that Yi Qianxian had misunderstood her meaning. She immediately nodded her head. How can a celestial being like brother not make people admire you? I'm sure there are many people around here who have the same thoughts as me. Luo Qingtong simply opened her mouth and said such flattering words. In any case, flattery didn't cost money. Moreover, this man was indeed worthy of this praise. Didn't they see the envious gazes that were cast at her from all directions after she sat down with the other party? However, Luo Qingtong didn't expect that the man would be so easy to approach after hiding his identity. He had done the right thing today. Luo Qingtong secretly gave herself a thumbs up for today's wise decision. If he missed this opportunity, he didn't know when he would be able to meet this incognito man again. Is that so? She did not pay attention to Luo Qingtong's last words. Yi Qianren's attention was all on her first sentence. So it was because of admiration? Was that why she took the initiative to approach him and appear in front of him? Yi Qianxian's heart stirred slightly as he looked at the young man in front of him. The latter's face was gorgeous and enchanting. Her squinting eyes and smiling appearance made her look indescribably cunning and willful, agile and threatening. Did she think that he didn't recognize her? So after she changed her identity, she directly appeared in front of him as the evil Dr. Ghost Eye? She clearly knew his true identity, yet she still dared to provoke him again and again. So fearless of death. Did she like him that much? Yi Qianxian thought and frowned. He didn't like those who liked him to deliberately approach him, but if it was this woman. Yi Qianxian looked at Luo Qingtong's evil and clever expression and suddenly felt that he could accept it. As long as she didn't run away, he could allow her to stay by his side. Chapter 189. Yi Qianxian, my name. He raised his hand and took a sip of the wine in his cup. Seeing how infatuated you are, I will allow you to know my name. I will allow you to drink with me at the same table. For some reason, Yi Qianxian felt very comfortable knowing that Luo Qingtong liked him. It turned out that this woman liked him so much. So she didn't dare to approach him before because of his identity as the underworld senior? Since that was the case, he could forgive her for her previous disrespect. After all, he was the underworld senior and had a noble status. It was normal for this woman to be worried and afraid to approach him. Was she afraid that he would be unhappy or even put her in a disadvantageous position if he knew? Thinking about how Luo Qingtong tried to escape in every possible way before, Yi Qianxian's anger dissipated a lot. His plan to capture her as soon as he found her also changed a little. Oh! Brother Yi. Luo Qingtong felt a burst of happiness in her heart. Yi Qianxian, who hid his identity, was much easier to approach than she thought. She even asked for his name. Would it be long before she could see his injuries? Her heart was restless as she seized the opportunity and said, "This little brother is called Xia Tong. Brother Yi can call me Xiao Tong in the future." Humph. Yi Qianxian lightly snorted. This woman was really cunning. What's Xia Tong? Wasn't it just the abbreviation of evil Dr. Gui Tong? He let her approach him and even told her his name. She actually used a fake name to fool him. Yi Qianxian was slightly angry as he thought about it. He looked at her coldly. "Xia Tong? Evil Dr. Gui Tong? Your name is strange." Did she really think that he didn't know her true identity? Cough cough. Brother Yi knows me? Luo Qingtong pretended that she really didn't know anything. She didn't know that this man was the underworld senior and didn't know that he knew her. She deliberately said the name Xia Tong. Otherwise, how could she logically reveal her identity as an evil doctor and treat his injuries? After all, from the way she was acting now, she didn't seem to know this man. I can't let him see that I'm pretending. Humph. Yi Qianxian snorted. This woman was really cunning. His acting was so real. If he did not know that she was the woman from the Nine Magi Mountain and had seen her real appearance, he would have thought that she did not recognize him. Yi Qianxian's expression did not change, but he said coldly, "Of course I know. The entire black field is looking for you, evil Dr. Ghost Eye." Cough cough. Hearing his words, Luo Qingtong choked on the wine in her mouth. It can't be, right? The black field is looking for her everywhere? Didn't that mean that this man was looking for her everywhere? Luo Qingtong felt an inexplicable sense of foreboding. Why was this man looking for her everywhere? Didn't he dispel his suspicions about her? Could it be that when he went to the city lord's mansion to steal the medicine, something went wrong and he was exposed? Luo Qingtong felt guilty as she thought about it. She looked at the handsome face of the man in front of her and suddenly felt that she had dug a hole and buried herself. She couldn't have done something stupid and delivered herself to his doorstep, right? Ha, ha. Really? That. I really don't know. Luo Qingtong gave a hollow laugh. She quickly changed the topic. Brother Yi, what are you doing in the Tianyu Empire? Chapter 190. To capture someone. Yi Qianxian replied concisely. That pair of cold eyes stared at Luo Qingtong just like that. Hee hee. Luo Qingtong felt her hair stand on end from his stare. She couldn't have exposed herself, right? But Luo Qingtong went over everything that happened in the Blackfield City Lord's manor. She couldn't find any flaws. Previously, she had indeed dispelled this man's suspicions. Later, when she sneaked into the city lord's manor to steal medicine, she didn't expose herself from beginning to end. Even when she was treating his injuries, he fainted. There was no one in the bath hall and she walked very quickly. This man shouldn't have discovered her. Luo Qingtong felt a lot more relieved. Just as she was about to probe this man again, Yi Qianxian suddenly looked away. He took the wine cup in her hand, poured a new cup, and handed it to her. What's wrong? Drink. Didn't you say you wanted to drink with me? The man held the wine cup and leaned back on the chair. His posture was languid and noble. Yi Qianxian wasn't in a hurry to expose Luo Qingtong's identity. He wanted to let this woman think that he hadn't seen through her. In addition, he wanted to see how long her eyes could hold on. Compared to directly exposing this woman's identity, Yi Qianxian was more willing to see Luo Qingtong expose herself. Humph. Let's see where she can run this time and what tricks she can play. Yi Qianxian snorted. His eyes darkened and he directly drank the wine cup in his hand. Oh. Luo Qingtong looked at the wine cup in her hand and then looked at Yi Qianxian's indifferent expression. She couldn't help but wonder if she was too nervous and overthinking things. This man shouldn't have discovered her identity. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so indifferent. Thinking of this, Luo Qingtong let go. Okay. Brother Yi, please. It was rare that this man was willing to let someone get close to him, so she had to seize this opportunity. However, this man was so vigilant. How could she make him agree to let her see his wound? Luo Qingtong thought to herself as she drank. The two of them had their own thoughts, but on the surface, they were toasting each other as if they were old friends at first sight and regretted not having met earlier. They drank merrily. On the other side, Feng Yu and Bei Qing, who had been completely abandoned, were staring blankly. Feng Yu, I. Am I seeing things? Quick. Hurry up and pinch me. Bei Qing was stuttering as he spoke. Oh my God. The man who was drinking with the evildoer youth until his brows were relaxed and the corners of his lips were slightly raised was their master. How was this possible? His eyes must be damaged. Furthermore, that young man was actually an evil doctor. How was this possible? Wasn't the evil doctor a shameless old man? How could it be the demonic youth in front of him? But then again, that young man's face was indeed very familiar. Beiqing racked his brains and quickly remembered that the young man in the portrait that his master had asked them to send to the middle country of the Black Field to search for him was the face of this young man. Oh my God! No wonder they were wondering why their master was paying attention to a young man for no reason. So, he was the evil doctor? Beiqing was shocked. For some reason, she felt as if her world had been turned upside down. But wait. This wasn't the point. The point was, when had their master ever smiled at someone like this? Beiqing looked at the faint smile on Yi Qianqian's face. She was completely shocked. Chapter 191. Brother Yi, you already know who I am. This younger brother doesn't have anything to give to Brother Yi. Why don't I take a look at Brother Yi? Luo Qingtong and Yi Qianxian drank one cup after another for a while and gradually felt a little tipsy. This man was completely different from when he was hiding his identity and when he was Ming Zun. If she didn't have her eye technique and had seen this man's true appearance, she would have thought that he was someone else impersonating him. Seeing that time was passing little by little, Luo Qingtong felt that the trace of power in her eyes was slowly dissipating. She immediately took advantage of her drunkenness and proposed to take a look at the man. Otherwise, if this continued, she wouldn't be able to hold on. All right. Looking at the young man in front of him who had become even more devilish and wanton due to the influence of alcohol, Yi Qianxian's eyes darkened. Yi Qianxian expressed that he was very happy that Luo Qingtong was still thinking about his injuries at this time. This woman really liked him very much. Not only did she take the initiative to get close to him, but she was also thinking about his injuries. As Yi Qianren thought of this, his heart was filled with joy. There was also a tinge of joy in his pair of cold eyes. Take a look. He stretched out his wrist. Luo Qingtong saw that he was so cooperative and her heart was immediately overjoyed. She roughly estimated in her heart that the trace of power in her eyes could last for about half an hour, which was 2 to 3/4 of an hour. It was enough for her to examine the man's injuries. This kind of opportunity wasn't easy to find. Previously, when she examined the man's injuries, he was unconscious. She didn't know if it was because of this that her eye technique didn't find any clues. Then Brother Yi, I'll start. Luo Qingtong said as she put her finger on the man's pulse. When the two people's skin touched, Yi Qianxian's body trembled slightly. He inexplicably felt a strange feeling in his heart. He turned his head to look at Luo Qingtong and then at the place where her fingers were pressing on his pulse. He was slightly stunned. Luo Qingtong only touched him lightly. Why did he feel so strange? Her heart seemed to be beating a little fast. Yi Qianxian frowned. While he was troubled by his own feelings, Luo Qingtong also quickly began to check the injuries in his body. Luo Qingtong tried her best to control herself and not send her power into the man's body. Every time she sent her power into the man's body, she would bring his power back and then level up uncontrollably. Everything depended on his ocular technique. Anyway, she didn't need to mend the man's meridians right now, so she could just watch. She lowered her head slightly, hiding the red light in her eyes from using the eye technique. She quickly scanned the man's body. Under Luo Qingtong's ocular technique, the man's meridians, bones, and blood vessels were reflected in Luo Qingtong's eyes in a strange way. It was like a miniature scanner, scanning Yi Qianxian from top to bottom and left to right. It also had its own X-ray vision and various numerical values. Luo Qingtong operated her ocular technique with all her might. This was the first time she used her ocular technique without holding back since she transmigrated. This time, it was unknown how many times more difficult it was than when she used it to examine the poison. This man's physique was too inhuman, right? Chapter 192. What AF * King Husky? Luo Qingtong had never encountered such a situation in her previous life. In the past, which ability user's strength could not be seen through by her. Even during a battle, she could adjust her attack according to the opponent's weak points at any time. An ocular sorcerer's strength was all-encompassing. Currently, Luo Qingtong's ocular sorcerer's ability was not obvious yet. In the future, as her mental strength increased, her ocular sorcerer's ability would become stronger and stronger. In her previous life, she was a supreme ocular sorcerer. In the 24th century on Earth, no ability user could escape the detection of her ocular sorcerer. Damn it, she could not see through this man at all. Luo Qingtong was very depressed in her heart. However, she did not forget her real purpose this time. If she could not see through him, then she would not look at him for the time being. She would find another opportunity in the future. She would look again when her strength increased. She did not believe that she could not find out this man's limit. Luo Qingtong gritted her teeth and concentrated all her ocular sorcerer's power on Yi Qianqian's meridians. However, with one look, damn it. This man's meridians and the strength of his bones and flesh were two extremes. Luo Qingtong looked at the few pitiful numbers that appeared in her eyes and suspected that she had seen wrongly. However, she raised her head and looked at the man in front of her, then looked at his meridians. She was very sure that those pitiful numbers were the strength of this man's meridians. Damn it. It can't be. The strength of his meridians was not even comparable to hers. Although her physical fitness had undergone the baptism of the 9-story exquisite pagoda and the life and death sword, her physique was not to be underestimated and far surpassed that of most experts. However, with this man's strength, it was impossible for his meridians to be so weak. The more one cultivated, the stronger their meridians. This was the principle of cultivation in this world. Why did this man do the opposite? Moreover, his meridians were so weak. How did he display the strength that could even destroy a heavenly beast? Luo Qingtong was at a loss. Damn it, she had purposely approached this man in order to thoroughly investigate the strangeness of his internal injuries. Now, not only did she fail to find out anything, she had even dug herself deeper. What the hell was going on? Why were the meridians in this man's body so strange? This was definitely not caused by someone else. How did he end up like this? Luo Qingtong's curiosity was like being scratched by a cat. If it weren't for the fact that she couldn't reveal her identity, she would have dragged this man in front of her and interrogated him about what was going on. My heart is so tired. The answer to the riddle was getting further and further away from him, wasn't it? Luo Qingtong didn't give up and wanted to check again. However, at this time, the trace of power in her eyes was in danger. At most a quarter of an hour, the trace of power in her eyes would disappear completely. No, I can only look at it next time when I have the chance. Thinking of this, she reluctantly withdrew her hand. The touch of her finger on his skin made Yi Qianqian's body tremble slightly, and the strange feeling in his heart became stronger. He didn't know why, but he suddenly felt that this woman would be fine even if she kept putting her hand on his wrist. Chapter 193. Are you sure? Yi Qianxian looked at Luo Qingtong with a deep gaze. Brother Ye's body is fine. He's very healthy. Luo Qingtong reluctantly withdrew her gaze. She couldn't see anything this time. How stifling. While she was feeling depressed, Yi Qianxian's lips curled up. This woman was truly devoted to him. Seeing Luo Qingtong's disappointed expression when she let go of his wrist, Yi Qianxian felt very comfortable. At this moment, he heard Luo Qingtong's voice. Sorry, Brother Yi, I suddenly remembered that I still have something to do. Let's drink again next time. This little brother will take his leave first. As soon as she said this, Yi Qianxian's expression suddenly sank. This woman, is she going to run away again? After experiencing this kind of thing several times, Yi Qianxian didn't believe Luo Qingtong's words at all. He snorted coldly and raised his hand to press down on her shoulder, pushing her back. What's the rush? We haven't had enough to drink yet. If there's anything, I'll go with you to explain later. Just say that we hit it off at first sight and were delayed. How about it? Yi Qianxian looked at Luo Qingtong with a deep gaze. He pressed down on her shoulder with a little force so that she couldn't get up. Or are you saying that you're not willing to give me this opportunity? When you said that you admired me and wanted to drink with me, was that also a lie? Yi Qianxian's voice was cold. This woman was in such a hurry to leave. Her eyes must be showing signs of something. He was going to sit here and watch her expose herself. Luo Qingtong was pushed back into her chair by Yi Qianxian. Her heart was like 10,000 galloping horses. Holy shit. What's wrong with this man? He's not letting me go. Luo Qingtong felt a wave of unease in her heart. Could it be that her previous premonition was right? This man had really seen through her identity? Luo Qingtong carefully sized up the man's expression. However, Yi Qianxian didn't do anything other than push her back into her seat. She couldn't tell if he had seen through her identity under the evil doctor's ghost eyes. No. Regardless of whether this man saw through it or not, she couldn't stay here any longer. Otherwise, when the time came and her eyes returned to their blind state, her disguise would be exposed even if she didn't. Thinking about it, Luo Qingtong looked at Yi Qianxian and smiled. Brother Yi, what are you thinking? I really have something to do. But since Brother Yi invites me so sincerely, I can only risk my life to accompany you. As she spoke, she picked up the wine glass on the table. So, let's get drunk today. Yi Qianren looked at her with narrowed eyes. All right. He wanted to see what other tricks this woman had up her sleeves. No return until we're drunk? She'd be exposed in a while. If Yi Qianxian could guess it, how could Luo Qingtong not be aware of it? She felt bitter as she watched the time slowly pass. Damn, this man was a big pervert. Luo Qingtong felt gloomy when she thought about how he sent someone to guard her when she said she wanted to go to the outhouse. At this time, she was 100% sure that this man was suspecting her again. And he was waiting for her to expose herself. Damn, life was so miserable. If she had known, she wouldn't have taken the initiative to provoke this man. I don't know where he got the clue from, but why is he suspecting me again? Chapter 194. Humph. That brat just now really didn't know how to appreciate favors. It's his fortune that I took a liking to him. How dare you disobey? How infuriating. That's right. That guy really doesn't know how to appreciate favors. But why are you so angry, Crown Prince? He's just a good-looking young man. In the future, we'll find a few more for you. I guarantee that their looks won't be inferior to his. A group of people came in noisily from the outside. All of them were drunk and entered the outhouse at the side. That's right. Prince, don't be angry. With your status as Prince Chunjiu's prince, that brat didn't obey because he didn't have the fortune. I just can't take it lying down. Suddenly, Luo Qingtong heard someone say, actually, it would be great if we could get hold of the peerless young man in red and the handsome man beside him. Sigh. That feeling must be asterisk 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 asterisk. Yes. Looking at their figures and postures, they were definitely kindred spirits. Seeing that the young man had left his seat, the elegant and peerless man in white didn't forget to ask his attendants to guard him. He knew that the relationship between them was definitely not simple. TSK, what a pity. Those two are not people we can touch. A red-clothed youth and a white-clothed man? Why did he send someone to follow him when he left the banquet? Luo Qingtong lowered her head and looked at the red clothes she was wearing. Her lips twitched. *T. Wasn't that referring to her and that damned man? Those two, burp, they are indeed graceful and peerless. However, the aura of the man in white was too strong. He was not an ordinary person at all. You, what are you doing? Before Prince Chunjiu could finish his words, the latrine door was kicked open with a bang. He hurriedly pulled up his pants that he hadn't taken off in time. He turned his head and was about to curse, but Luo Qingtong hooked her arm around his neck and dragged him out of the room. The rest of the people in the outhouse rushed out after hearing the noise. Air! Release the crown prince. Shoo! Aya, don't be so nervous. Luo Qingtong raised her finger and shushed them. Her devilishly beautiful face was filled with a devilish smile. She hooked her arms around Prince Chunjiu's neck and said with a smile, "Just now, I was in the outhouse next door and heard all of your words. Who would have thought? To think that he would meet such a fellow player who knew how to play. It's really, to my liking. Young master, please spare, eh?" That Chunjiu prince's heir apparent was pulled out of the latrine by Luo Qingtong's arm around his neck. Just as he was about to beg for mercy, hearing what was said, he stared blankly. Young master, you mean, Prince Chunjiu looked at Luo Qingtong with surprise and joy. He originally thought that Luo Qingtong had pulled him out to beat him up. He didn't expect the other party to have such a look of admiration for him. Could it be that this young master actually liked to play like this? And he didn't reject anyone? Wasn't this a meat pie that fell from the sky? Thinking that he could have sex with such a peerless devilishly beautiful young man, Prince Chunjiu's heart was fluttering. His gaze towards Luo Qingtong was like a hungry wolf. That's right, it's exactly what you think. Luo Qingtong looked at them with a devilishly charming face. Chapter 195. That Prince Chunjiu's saliva is about to drip out. Oh my God. Not only this peerless beautiful young man, but that indescribably handsome man also likes to play like this? You really can't judge a book by its cover, ah. His face is filled with excitement as he pats his chest. Violence is definitely not a problem. I'm the most violent. Thinking about how he relies on his father's power in Tianyu Imperial City to bully men and women, if he dares to say he's number one, no one dares to say they're number two. He definitely meets the requirements, ah. Compared to this devilishly beautiful young man, that man who clearly had a piercingly cold and elegant temperament was a character he had never met before. To be able to go through thick and thin with that one time, he's willing to die, ah. Oh, really? Luo Qingtong has an evil smile as she looks him up and down. But that big brother of mine isn't an ordinary person. Like you, even if all of you work together, you might not be able to beat him, ah. How can you be violent, ah? If you're not violent enough, that big brother of mine won't be happy and won't do as you wish. That's not a problem, ah. That Prince Chunjiu pats his chest loudly. I can mobilize the elites of the 5 cities wardens department. That's definitely violent enough, right? For that handsome man with a biting cold aura, valiant and domineering aura, he's going all out. At most, he'll be beaten up by his father again. In any case, his father only has him as his only child. He definitely won't dare to beat him to death and end his family's bloodline. Oh. So it's like this, ah. Luo Qingtong's eyes brighten. She didn't expect this Prince Chunjiu's son she casually caught to be so awesome. This hedonist index is very high, ah. Okay. I'll invite that big brother of mine over in a bit. You guys prepare the troops. Right, what is the best way to make Tianyu's imperial family suffer the most? For the last sentence, Luo Qingtong has already used her eye technique soul-absorbing ability. Originally, she wanted to slowly inquire about Tianyu's imperial family and see how to deal with them. But now that that man is here, Luo Qingtong has no choice but to end this quickly. Otherwise, if she's caught by that man, there will be no end to it. Especially what she's doing right now, that man will probably be angered to death. Luo Qingtong's lips fiercely twitches as she thinks. Forget it, Tianyu's imperial family's luck. Okay. The crown prince of Prince Chunjiu happily agreed and was about to go look for her. When he turned around, Luo Qingtong patted him. When he turned around, he saw her eyes that were flashing red like a demon. Under the influence of Luo Qingtong's eye technique, the other people's brains slowed down for a second. Before he could react, his mind was already in a mess. The Imperial S good. Done to end. Luo Qingtong's lips curled up slightly. She raised her hand and patted Prince Chunjiu's body. The latter immediately returned to normal. 2. Tianyu's. Why is he still here? To go. Let's go. That pure ninth crown prince's face was somewhat dazed, and those lackeys beside him also looked like they had just woken up from a dream. The group of people did not discover anything and just ran away in a hustle and bustle. Luo Qingtong looks at them running away in a hurry. She smiles and crosses her arms in front of her chest as she walks out. Let's go. She looks at Bei Qing, who is squatting outside, and the smile on her face is indescribably enchanting. You're tuning in to the Biyao's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.